This conference will now be recorded.
So, yeah, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So, I've just started the recording right now. So, hi everyone, myself Jessica Reeves, Conference Secretariat at Coalesce Research Group LLC. Even during this pandemic, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to join us virtually at the webinar organized by our company, Coalesce Research Group. Thank you all for making up your time for us here. Before we could start a session for day one, I would like to convey a few words about our company. So, Coalesce Research Group is an USA-based emerging open access publisher and international conference event organizer which ove to serve the scientific community by serving the high quality, genuine research work from eminent scientists, professors, scientific research communities in all fields of medicine, clinical, life science, engineering, and technology to research scholars, students, libraries, educational institutions, research centers, and industries with the aim of enhance your research in the respective fields. Our emphasis on offering state-of-the-art scientific information in formats most conducive to learning assures you of an optimal continuing education experience. Emerging technologies, massive paradigm shifts, regulation, governments, and new age of relative austerity mean that we must constantly evaluate our strategy to better serve the scientific community and to guarantee the value of your meetings. Recently, we have also started our own platform for open access peer reviewed scholarly literature where all content is freely available without any charge to the readers. We aim to share the new recent advances through scientific publications, which will help in minimizing the borders and contributing the use of research works of eminent authors, scientists, researchers, research scholars, students, etc., across the broad spectrum of medical, clinical, pharma, and engineering scientific disciplines and subspecialties to promote the idea which will guide the development and facilitate the use of scientific information and ensure its quality and also will be the connecting link between researchers and scientific community. We are committed to ensure that our journals are disseminated worldwide so that the researchers are available and able to access our content whether and wherever they need it. Finally, we thank each and every one of you, the participants at this conference or the webinar. We hope you enjoy the conference and your participation will definitely contribute the new collaborations and research initiatives. Thank you one and all for your patience. And yeah, we'll be very glad if you will be interested to give your introduction, a brief introduction about yourselves before we start today's session. If anyone is interested, yeah, you can just give a short introduction about yourself so that we can get to know about each other better.
Sure, this is Carla Keaston. I'm the first speaker today. I'm a senior principal research scientist at Amway. I support product development with sensory and consumer research globally. I'm a probably 30 plus year experienced veteran in this area. I have a PhD in food science and statistics from Cornell University. And over the course of my career, I've worked at several different consulting and industry positions, all of them supporting basic sensory and consumer research. Thank you.
That was really good to know about you, Dr. Kyla. It's really great to know about your information. So, if anyone is interested, okay, then I guess, okay. So, before each and every presentation, yeah, we can have a short, brief introduction about yourselves. That's not a problem. So, yeah, we can start with today's session from Dr. Carla Kirsten, Amway, USA. Dr. Carla, you can actually just share your screen through the button screen on your desktop. Just click on the screen button. Yeah, 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 your screen is now visible. So, yeah, Dr. Kala, you can actually start your presentation. your mic,
Sorry,
like,
I was
yeah,
trying to talk.
yeah,
Can I expand the view here? It
sure.
seems like
Yeah, you can just click on
um,
view slideshow just beside in the right corner, the
but
first button.
yeah, the buttons are in the way though. Display setting.
No, it's
Yeah,
actually
the
the
buttons.
one just beside the zoom, the screen, the right side.
Yeah, the problem is the buttons for the meeting, the
Okay.
attendees are covering that. So how do I?
Okay. You can just move that, or you'll have the three dots present on the like on the button, so you can
I
just
see.
move that by clicking.
Okay. So
So was it
it's
possible?
not moving. No, it's not possible. Oh, here. Okay. I think I'm getting close.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
done.
So
Yeah.
can you see it now completely?
Yeah, it is now visible
Or
completely.
okay, there's not I have a GoToMeeting that's on top
No,
of it
for
on
us,
my,
it's actually not visible. It's only for you that is being visible.
I see. Okay, very good. All right, thank you. All
Thank you.
right, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this presentation today. And thank you for the warm welcome. Today, I'll be sharing a research project where multi-attribute time intensity, we call it MATTI, was applied for development work on functional fruit chews using both descriptive and consumer data collected throughout consumption. This research was conducted to both guide development and also as an exploratory opportunity and feasibility assessment of MATTI, data collection, and advanced statistical treatment of the data. I can advance my screen now. Okay. So as a bit of background, we've applied this methodology to functional ingredients of a fruit chew that pose taste and texture challenges. The fruit components are acerola cherry, baobab, and hesperidin. All of these deliver unpleasant flavors like bitterness, astringency, and tannic qualities. And the fruit fiber from the acerola creates a fibrous, gritty texture with particulates that require a lot of unpleasant mouth cleanup. We also had magnesium, which causes a bit of a metallic taste. So we were challenged to work with our formulator here to improve the sensory consumer experience of this fruit chew. So what we wanted to try was a new methodology and some new statistical analyses to go along with it. And the reason being is conventional sensory is a single point static rating. And it's an integration usually of the respondent's perceptions over the course of the whole sensory experience, or in most practicing panels, the highest intensity of any given point in the experience. But we know that the chew down of a functional fruit chew is very dynamic, and that we actually need to integrate time as a measure of our ratings because it's a very dynamic process. The sensory attributes are changing over time, such as sweetness or sourness and texture. So we wanted to apply multi-attribute time intensity, which is a dynamic measure of sensory attributes over time, and many of them, more than just one at a time. Traditional time intensity is usually focused on just one sensory attribute at a time. The other thing that we wanted to incorporate was drivers of consumer liking. This is those attributes which have the most important effects on overall liking. So we also captured our consumer data for these same products. And we measured the relative importance of those attributes as they varied over time. So the classic techniques of univariate and multivariate methodologies do not capture all of this information that is available in TI curves. So we have evolved the methodology to incorporate temporal drivers of liking, as you'll see today. The objectives of our research were to look at product, method, and analyses. So for the product, we were looking at impact of variables on the product attributes. We also wanted to measure the sensory attributes throughout the whole consumption process. And we wanted to understand, guide, and optimize the consumer acceptance of this product. From a methodology standpoint, we wanted to relate descriptive panel and consumer MADI results, and we wanted to assess the variations in MADI data collection. So we varied some of the scenarios of how we collected the data. And we also wanted to apply this methodology to different types of scales. So we used a continuous line scale, a check all to apply or a CATA scale, a 1 to 9 point hedonic scale, and just about right scales or JAR scales. Our analyses, as I'll go into further detail, expand on multivariate statistical analyses for MADI data, multi-attribute time intensity, and we also capture and extend conventional drivers of liking, DOL, against and with a time dimension to temporal drivers of liking, or TDOL. So if we look at how we structured our study, we have two different types of panels. We have descriptive panels and we have consumer panels. We did conventional profiling and we did MADI, multi-attribute time intensity. Both included a warm-up sample. And we also did various consumer studies. We did a traditional survey, we did a discrete time intensity survey, and we did multi-attribute time intensity, all again with warm-up samples. This was followed by traditional surveys in market with consumers, with our targeted consumers. The samples that I'm going to share with you today are just a few out of over 20 that we actually tested. We have two prototypes that I'll focus on today for simplicity. One is a textured prototype, the one with the acerola cherry and fiber causing particulate issues and cohesiveness issues for us. And then we had a prototype that was formulated to improve against that we call the smooth prototype, or sample B. And then the retail competitor we included was a fruit chew candy of similar size and shape that was used as a warm-up sample. So here's a depiction of the type of data that we collected across the different stages of breakdown that we used for this study. So on the far left, you can see the stage. We looked at surface properties, and then we evaluated first bite, chew down, break down, swallow, and residual. So those are the stages of the texture breakdown path, which has been published in the literature. The panel evaluated the chews through those 6 stages using 2 different chews per test sample. So the first chew was used to evaluate the surface properties of the first bite. So the surface properties were captured by check all that apply or CATA scales, which included smooth, rough, powdery chalky, gritty, waxy, and oily. So the panelists checked those on or off depending on if they were present when they evaluated the surface properties. Then on the second chew, it was used for chew down and the remaining stages. So for that, the panel evaluated, again, some CATA attributes, including deformable, springy, uniform bite, dense, and toothful, a different set of CATA attributes, as well as scales that included hardness, cohesiveness, moistness of mass, and awareness of particles. So here we're focusing on that first bite, and through chew down and breakdown, on those 4 attributes. In addition, during chew down and breakdown, they also rated with CATA scales the fruit, sweet, sour, bitter, and off-note intensities, clicking them on if they were perceived at a 3 or higher on our 0 to 15 point intensity scale. And then at swallow, the point where they swallowed, we measured moistness of mouthfeel and the awareness of loose particles. They also checked CATA scales of smooth, rough, thin, thick as they swallowed, and throat irritation. And then afterwards, after swallow, we measured the aftertaste or residual for 60 seconds, again with moistness of mouth and loose particles, and then CATA descriptors of astringency, powdery chalky, gritty, waxy, and oily. And as you'll note on the far right side, when they were measuring surface properties and first bite, we allowed the panel as much time as they needed to evaluate those properties. And then with the application that was built, where we collect the data, we started a timer when they started the chew down process and monitored how long that took to point of swallow. And then we started the timer again for 60 seconds through that residual. So this application that was used for collecting the data was built in using Microsoft Access, and it was programmed with Visual Basic. The ratings were collected every second. So you can see that we've collected a lot of data very quickly with this procedure. These slides just take you through each individual stage, and I've already kind of talked through that, so I'll just hop through those. And then here on this slide, I'm showing you our crossover design. I had mentioned that we looked at different MADI scenarios, and what I want to highlight here is that we collected the MADI data in a couple different variations. One was called cycled, in which case we were prompting the panelists with a green light every 3 seconds through those 4 attributes of hardness, cohesiveness, etc., and just kept cycling through those. That brought attention to and focused their awareness on what to attend to when they were rating the attributes. The other way we did it, the other scenario was we call random. They were allowed to rate and change any of the attributes throughout the course of their consumption experience. It was non-structured as the cycled one was. And then we looked at, for the consumer methodology, we looked at 2 different types of scaling methods. We looked at line scales where they clicked along the line to indicate their rating, or they used a just about right scale, which is an ideal point type consumer scale. So either the product was too low, say for example for sweetness, just about right, or too high. And there was a 5-point scale there with 3 being just about right in the middle. Okay, so the consumer questionnaire now, I told you earlier about the descriptive questionnaire. The consumer questionnaire was simpler for the sake of ease for the consumer. And we did two modalities. We did flavor and we did texture as 2 separate evaluations. For flavor, we ask overall liking of flavor, the fruit intensity of the flavor, the sweetness and sour intensities, and then through 30 seconds after swallowing, not 60 like in the trained descriptive palate, we ask pleasantness of aftertaste. And then for texture, it was overall liking of texture, and then chewiness, stickiness, and smoothness intensities, and then through 30 seconds after swallowing, pleasantness of mouthfeel. So we have both methodologies and we have different types of scales that we were evaluating. Now, from a statistical analysis perspective, I told you we wanted to extend or enhance our MADI experience here for analysis purposes. So what we did was we took the MADI data, the line, the ratings, the CATA, and the JARA scales, And we smoothed them to represent them graphically with functional data analysis, or FDA. This is available in R and fairly easy to do with these temporal curves that we've developed here or collected. We also measured relative importance values. This is a key to our talk today. The Shapley value and interactive indices for the panel sensory attributes that were relating to our consumer overall liking of flavor and texture, they were estimated with Choquet integrals and fuzzy measures in multi-criteria decision-making, or CMDM. We also measured relative importance values as LMG statistics. LMG is the abbreviated name of the developers of this methodology, Miniman, Merriam, and Gould. And for the consumer jar attributes and overall liking, we use this technique using linear regression based on variance decomposition. So there's a couple of different statistical techniques we used here. The curves of relative importance for the sensory attributes or the consumer jar attributes to overall liking were produced using functional data analysis based on these measures, the Shapley values, the interaction, and the LMG statistic. And they were estimated over 20 to 30 different time points. So those time points were built based on either the cycling interval or the random set points that we collected for either of those scenarios. Both or all of these are well established in R packages, FDA for functional data analysis, Kappa Lab, and relative importance relampo were used for analysis of the MADI data and temporal drivers of liking. So on this chart, I'm showing you the first scale of actual results. You can see that our overall liking rating is captured on the y-axis, and our time over and above 80 seconds is on the x-axis. And you can see the impact of or the results of our various products. The smooth prototype is the green line at the top. It's reflecting a more or higher overall liking than either of the other two. The competitor is very close. They're in yellow. In fact, when we do a comparison of these curves, they group together, as you can see. We can do our statistics with this, the whole curve or the whole function, which is the powerful aspect of working with functional data analysis. You can see our initial prototype here, the texture prototype, is suffering from a number of sensory deficits, and I'll share those in a bit. And you'll see why we have the issue that we do on liking. Okay, so this is illustrating the multi-attribute time intensity first bite from our descriptive panel using the check all that apply results that I've mentioned before. So we have uniform bite and deformable shown on this slide. And we're actually plotting proportion of responses. So here we can see that the smooth prototype has a more uniform bite than the competitor or the textured prototype by 25 seconds, and is also more deformable than either of the other two. All right, and then as we move on, there's a couple more CATA attributes. We have denseness and tooth pull, so we can compare those. And I would say during this time, it takes a bit of time to get stable, so you can see that there's a come-up curve for both of these aspects. So looking at those, we see that for example, on tooth pull, we have the highest tooth pull with the competitor, a little bit less with the smooth prototype, and the least tooth pull with our textured prototype. Now, if we look at the line scales of hardness and cohesiveness, our results show that our competitor was the hardest. Our smooth prototype has a similar curve, but is slightly less hard, and our textured prototype is obviously the least hard. And for cohesiveness, the smooth and competitor are fairly similar to each other, although the competitor has more variation, and the texture prototype is obviously less cohesive. And now we selected the competitor because it was well liked by consumers, and you can see some of the diagnostics now are popping through here. So consumers prefer a little bit harder than our texture prototype, and they like a more cohesive product or chew. Here's moistness of mass and awareness of particles. So again, a diagnostic here. Particles are not desired in a chew. People found that a little off-putting, so obviously we have to deal with our particles for the texture prototype. And in general, the moistness of mass was highest for the competitor and smooth prototype, and a little lower for the textured prototype. Our competitor, you can see, had no fiber at all, but in fact, it was a little bit more like it, and it's not fair, I'll be honest, it was okay, sorry, thank you. The fruit flavor is too low in the middle of the chew for most of the people. The highest proportion was too low. Some were just right, none were too high, or said that it was too high. For sweetness, it's interesting here. People prefer, or the proportions were higher initially, that it was a little too low, and at the end also a little too low. So what we learned here is that it's important to have sweetness perceived at the beginning as soon as possible, and to carry through in the aftertaste as long as possible in order for the product to be well received. And then if we look at sourness, something kind of similar, none of the people said it was too low, and some people vacillated at the initial toward the latter part of the product between whether it was just right or too low. So we can look at jar data temporally, which is very helpful diagnostically and very insightful for us in terms of formulation. Moving on now, what I would like to share with you next is a bit about the relative importance of these scales. So far I've just shown you the actual results. Now I would like to share with you the actual values of relative importance, and we can plot those just like we did the ratings or the responses, but now we're looking at relative importance. And it's important to recognize that we have different values or different models for the different types of scales. For example, for kata scales, we use Shapley values. We didn't capture kata values for the consumer, so those aren't applicable. For the line scale, we use Shapley values for both the descriptive and the consumer panel. For category scales, we use the LMG statistic. And for the jar scales, again, the descriptive panel doesn't rate the jar ideal point scale, only the consumers. And here we use the LMG statistic. And then for these same scales, we have first and second derivatives, which is interesting to look at as well. All right, so here we go. Here's the kata first bite. And what we learn here in looking at the Shapley values, which are plotted on the y-axis against time, we see that uniform bite is a really important aspect of driving overall liking of texture. So recall that we looked at these CATA attributes of deformable, tooth pull, dense, springy, uniform bite during that first bite. And what we learn here is that the most important thing is a uniform bite for a chew, especially sort of mid 10 to 15 second time frame. And then later on, we see that deformable is important as they're working that product through that first bite. Now, if we look at the line scale, combining the consumer and the descriptive data, because again, we're looking at overall liking of texture, which is coming from the consumer. That's our key measure. And we're relating that with our descriptive panel attributes of hardness, cohesiveness, moistness of mass, and awareness of particles. What we see here is that initially we're a little bit unstable through that first 20 seconds or so. But by 40 seconds, we've got a clear read on what the most important relative important attributes are. So hardness is by far the most important attribute that's driving overall liking of texture, followed by cohesiveness, which is also very important. And the awareness of particles and moistness of mass are of less importance. Now keep in mind, this data is for the smooth prototype. You would see a different pattern for the textured prototype where we had some issues with awareness of particles and cohesiveness, as you recall. All right, so now we can also look with this very powerful functional data analysis and analysis, we can look at the interaction effects and their importance over time. So things that are positive or above zero are what are called complementary, and those that are below or negative are called substitutive. So those are of interest to us because we know based on those that if they're complementary, they're jointly working with each other. It's a positive interaction, if you will. And if they're substitutive, that means that they're a negative interaction and they could be more or less used instead of each other. So as we look at this, we see hardness and moistness of mass are complementary, and hardness versus cohesiveness as well. So all of the hardness interactions are complementary, and the others, like cohesiveness versus awareness of particles, is substitutive. All right, so this chart then shows the relative importance, the LNG statistic for the jar scale data. And here we see again some variation in the beginning of the time point, but by say, I don't know, by 40 seconds or so, we see that fruit flavor for this smooth fruit chew is the most relatively important attribute, followed by sourness and then by sweetness. But again, you can see here with this data that it's really important and of dominant relative importance for sweetness to be up front as well as on the end of the experience. As you can see that sweetness has a U-shaped curve here and is highest at the beginning and at the end. All right, so now these slides are showing the derivatives of our curves. And what that allows us to do is look at the first derivative is the velocity of the relative importance measures, and the second derivative is showing the acceleration of the relative importance of measures. So the values around 0 in the first derivative correspond to local maximum or minimum values of the relative importance measures. And if these absolute values of either the first or second derivatives for an attribute are close to 0, it would suggest that the RI of that attribute, the relative importance, is stable to liking. So while these are somewhat challenging to interpret because we're not used to looking at data in this way, the key is to explore the practical meaning and interpretation of these derivatives of the relative importance of these functional curves. So here we see the CATA scales relating to our consumer data. Here we see texture for the line scale, awareness of particles, cohesiveness, moistness of mass, and hardness. And you can see that they're settling down and pretty much vacillating around 0 on this chart. And then we also see some variation here in both the first and second derivatives for some of the texture attribute interactions. So we're showing interactions here that are changing dynamically, both for the first and second derivatives. And here's the LMG statistic for the first and second derivatives of our jar scale data. So again, we see some vacillation. And to be honest, we have to kind of step back and do some further research to understand what these derivatives mean in terms of formulation and improving the consumer acceptance of product. All right, so that concludes the sharing of data. I just want to wrap up here by concluding that I feel like as a researcher, the dynamic aspects of relative importance curves of attributes may provide additional insights for temporal drivers of liking. It's a hot topic these days, and a lot of literature is dedicated to temporal studies, you'll find in the literature. FDA is a very powerful tool, I hope you agree, for exploring the dynamic aspect of temporal drivers of liking. So we conclude then that this approach with multi-attribute time intensity data allows us to relate sensory and consumer data on a time-dependent basis. We can extend the conventional drivers of liking DOL analyses with the time dimension and to temporal drivers of liking. We can apply descriptive panel data. Training and practice is required for reliable results, but I find that this methodology is very helpful, in fact, for training descriptive panels. And I would also offer that an easy user experience is very important. Practice is definitely required. It takes a lot of multitasking, but people pick up on it and they get the pace and they do quite well. We've learned, excuse me, at least our panel has done quite well. And then for consumer research, I think it's really important that care be taken to explain the methodology. The type of MADI scenario, whether it's cycle versus random, will impact the data. So in some cases, you may want to cycle to attend to, have your panelists attend to the attributes more thoroughly versus having them do it randomly, which allows them to react spontaneously if they feel the need to do so. So I would offer that there's more work to be done there to understand cycling versus random effects. I believe our panelists enjoyed the MADI experience. It was different than the typical surveys they've done in the past. And results may vary from conventional methods. We are looking at more data and we're examining it in a more thorough, insightful way. So I believe these techniques can augment, where appropriate, some of our conventional methods very easily. And to further on with this discussion, the new statistical methods are functional data analysis. You saw those functional curves. We applied relative importance analysis using fuzzy measure and Choquet intervals, using the multi-criteria decision-making for panel sensory attributes and consumer liking using our R package Kappa Lab, and the relative importance analysis using linear regression based on variance decomposition, the LMG statistic, for both consumer jar attributes and overall liking using the R package relative importance, RELAMPO. So for future research, what I see is that we can continue this comparison of consumer MADI results to descriptive methodologies. In fact, we're doing some research on an energy gum right now using these techniques. We can continue traditional survey and discrete time intensity methods to compare against these newer methods. We can enhance our experiences for consumers using this technique. I believe it will help us improve our product development initiatives. We can investigate variations in protocols or instructions, warm-ups, conditioning or priming, I think is important. It can be explored. We can look at the impact of the interface and the design on response ratings because you can vary that substantially. We can extend MADI data collection to maybe be hands-free. Right now, it's eye-hand coordination and multitasking, as I said earlier. So maybe we can make that a little easier in the future. We can apply MADI to other product categories. I would say that MADI is useful for products that have a somewhat long duration of consumption experience as opposed to a fairly quick one. Because remember, we're cycling through attributes, so it takes a bit of time to do at least 4 to 6 cycles in order to capture multiple time points. Further understanding of consumer temporal multivariate data through analytics is often our goal and is still is our goal. And we want to explore the dynamic aspect of temporal drivers of liking. You know, what do those derivatives of relative importance functional curves mean? And how does that, that change affect the relative importance measure? All right, with that, I will acknowledge our collaborators. Jean Malley was our R&D formulator. Troy Neatling, our technician. Don and Yev were our consumer product research supporters. And we had Tech Reg here, Noe Galvin, to ensure safety protocols were followed. And of course, we had our descriptive and consumer panelists. We appreciate their support and involvement in this study. So I'll open it up to questions now.
So yeah, so do we have any questions for Dr. Carla? Oh yeah, the email ID is already been displayed. So yeah, if anyone is having any queries, you can ask now, or you can actually make note of the email ID, and you can maybe even email her if you're having any further queries. So no, there are no questions. So Dr. Carla, it was really informative. Thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so now moving on to our next presentation. We have Dr. Valerie from MedBite Limited, Russia. So is Dr. Valerie available? Yeah. So Dr. Valerie, will you be able, like we do have your video presentation. If you're interested, we can play the video for you, or you can do it from your system. It's any way possible. Not available. Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Valerie, please unmute your volume so that the audio will be audible to us. Just click on the mute button in the GoToMeeting site. The video is actually not audible right now, doctor.
Hear the sound.
Oh, yeah. Or if you don't mind, I can play the video for you, if that is okay with you.
Okay, it will be great if you
Yeah, yeah. Well,
would
just a
play
moment. I'm
video.
I'm just doing that. Thank you. Yeah. So just want to confirm if everyone can hear the audio. I'm sorry for the interruption. Is the audio was audible to everyone? I just wanted to confirm.
No, no sound.
Not audible.
Yes, no sound.
Was that audible right now?
Still no sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do not know what's happening. I'll just check. One second. What's wrong with this? The audio is actually audible to me, but not to the audience. So I'm just checking with that right now. So was it audible at least now?
Yes, yes. Now it was the sound.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm just playing the video once again. Yeah. Thank you.
But sound is very silent.
I'm sorry, the sound is very low.
Yes,
Is the
very low.
sound, but I'm having the complete. Yeah, I have the sound completely on. So yeah, could you please let me know if it's the still same, or try increasing the volume from your side if possible.
Maybe you can try to turn off your microphone and the sound will be from the video.
Okay.
Sorry, Jessica, practically no sound from the video.
Diabetes monitoring systems are now based on assessing blood sugar levels. However, the level of glycemia is the final product in the chain of various organs' interaction and systems of the body. With such an assessment, it is difficult to determine individually where the underlying disorders occur and how different medications affect on the disease. Therefore, most patients are treated according to the general scheme without assessing the individual characteristics of the organism. A popular proverb says, "There is nothing new except what was forgotten." In this connection, it would be interesting to pay attention to the possibility of diagnosing and treating different disease from the point of view of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, which has 2,000 years of history. According to TCM, effectiveness diagnosis and treatment methods depends directly on evaluation of Qi energy level in acupuncture channels, which reflect the state of the main organs and physiological systems of the body. In order to quantitatively evaluate a channel's activity level in TCM, the so-called sacrificial stick test was used in ancient times in China. This test involved a burning sandal stick, which was brought in time, synchronously with the pulse rate to specific diagnostic points, at the tips of the fingers and toes until the first sensation of pain. At each point, the number of heat passes is calculated until first pain feeling. If the number of heat passes was lower than the average one for all the channels, it proved the hyperactivity of channel and its corresponding organ. On the other hand, when the number of heat passes was higher, it represented the inactivity of a channel and its corresponding organ. This test was re-described by the Japanese doctor Koban Akabane in 1952. Since then, the test has carried his name. temperature sensitivity as the main defense system of the body, which provides a lot of information about its individual characteristics. The main task is to correctly decipher this information. From the modern physiology point of view, the idea of channel energy in PCM is equivalent to notion of organs' functional activity connected to each of these channels. So, as a result of 3 to 4 minute tests, we get digitally coded information of individual functional activity of main organs and systems of a body. For comparison, consider two tests, a healthy person and a diabetic patient. Normally, the indicators of the right and left points on the same channel do not differ much. In diabetes, there is a violation of symmetry in certain channels, which generally increases proportionally to glycemia level. Thus, it is possible to identify those systems and organs that are suffering from a particular disease. In our study, we used a
Excuse me, Jessica.
device.
I have an idea. We can share video from your account and sound from my account. So it seems it should make a good sound. Can we try?
Early correction. Generally, acupuncture.
Can you play video again? And we will start transfer sound from the beginning.
Your channels work as a specific signaling system
Okay, thank you.
in the body, but it is necessary to
Dear colleagues, I represent the team of doctors and engineers from St. Petersburg, Russia, who have been developing a device for thermal puncture diagnostic and treatment on the basis of a cabana test more than 30 years. One of the direction of our device application is a system for early diagnosis and individual monitoring of diabetes. Further, we will explain the possibility of our method in assessing the effect of drugs and dietary supplements.
Excuse me, can you hear now? Jessica, can you tell me, do you hear the sound?
Using, for example, of assessing the condition of patients with diabetes. This methodology has been well studied by us, based on the data from monitoring of more than 900 patients with diabetes. Near 20 years ago, we discovered that some indicator of a carbon delta correlated with glycemic level with other biochemical parameters, which can be evaluated from test results by calculation method. So it becomes possible to estimate functional state of a patient with diabetes and other diseases on a new physical principle. On this basis, it became possible to create a series of devices for doctors for monitoring diabetes and other diseases. I created the first such device for diagnostics and treatment 30 years ago. More than 10 versions of professional device were created in total. Recently, we created the first individual device that works throughout a smartphone. This solution greatly simplifies the monitoring system for various diseases and the health lifestyle, especially at home. At the same time, a doctor or fitness instructor can monitor a condition of his patients in application based on received measurements.
All diabetes monitoring systems are now based on assessing blood sugar levels. However, the level of glycemia is the final product in the chain of various organs' interaction and systems of the body. With such an assessment, it is difficult to determine individually where the underlying disorders occur and how different medications affect on the disease. Therefore, most patients are treated according to the general scheme, without assessing the individual characteristics of the organism. A popular proverb says, "There is nothing new except what was forgotten." In this connection, it would be interesting to pay attention to the possibility of diagnosing and treating different disease from the point of view of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, which has 2,000 years of history. According to TCM, effectiveness diagnosis and treatment methods depends directly on evaluation of Qi energy level in acupuncture channels, which reflect the state of the main organs and physiological systems of the body. In order to quantitatively evaluate a channel's activity level in TCM, the so-called sacrificial stick test was used in ancient times in China. This test involved a burning sandal stick, which was brought in time, synchronously with the pulse rate to specific diagnostic points, at the tips of the fingers and toes until the first sensation of pain. At each point, the number of heat passes is calculated until first pain feeling. If the number of heat passes was lower than the average one for all the channels, it proved the hyperactivity of channel and its corresponding organ. On the other hand, when the number of heat passes was higher, it represented the inactivity of a channel and its corresponding organ. This test was re-described by the Japanese Dr. Koben Akebane in 1952. Since then, the test has carried his name. Temperature sensitivity is the main defense system of the body, which provides a lot of information about its individual characteristics. The main task is to correctly decipher this information. From the modern physiology point of view, the idea of channel energy in TCM is equivalent to notion of organs' functional activity connected to each of these channels. So, as a result of 3 to 4 minute test, we get digitally coded information of individual functional activity of main organs and systems of a body. For comparison, consider two tests, a healthy person and a diabetic patient. Normally, the indicators of the right and left points on the same channel do not differ much. In diabetes, there is a violation of symmetry in certain channels, which generally increases proportionally to glycemia level. Thus, it is possible to identify those systems and organs that are suffering from a particular disease. In our study, we used a special certified device, Refleximaster. A total of 866 patients with type 1 and 2 diabetes were examined. This slide shows the profiles of pain sensitivity for type 1 diabetes in comparison with norm. On x-axis, these are 24 channels. Along the y-axis, average number of thermal pulses along each channel. As can be seen from this graph, the greatest difference with norm for men and women mostly appears in liver and pancreas channels. These differences are more noticeable for women. If temperature sensitivity of the channels changes, the level of glycemia changes synchronously with it. But temperature sensitivity changes occur before the change in biochemical parameters of the blood due to its buffering properties, and this makes it possible for early correction. Generally, acupuncture channels work as a specific signaling system in the body, but it is necessary to learn how to decipher these signals. The main evaluation of test profiles is based on three principles. First, the presence of high indicators for the Acebane test means hypofunction of the channel and its associated organ. The higher the temperature sensitivity index compared to norm, the higher the degree of functional or organic disorders. Second, deviation of temperature sensitivity indicators. The presence of such deviations of diabetes. The level of blood sugar changes the indicators of channel 2. Therefore, high values of deviation should be considered as a factor of compensation for organism resistance to the unfavorable internal conditions. If there is no deviation through the channel, then this system does not participate in regulatory processes and has little prospect for corrective interventions during treatment. 3. Very important difference between diabetes and norm consists in a sharp violation of symmetry between the left and right sides of some channels. For healthy people, there is also an asymmetry between the right and left sides of the channel, but usually it does not exceed 5 to 10%. As a rule, the indicators on the right side exceed left. As a result of these observations, the most important information about metabolic disturbances state in the body can be obtained from the graph with the ratio of right and left sides of the channels. This presentation of the information for each patient is important for his treatment because in each case, the target channels for correction are visible. The goal of treatment is to eliminate these asymmetries and create harmony in the body at the level of its bioenergetics. In general, the right side reflects anabolic processes and the left catabolic processes. Therefore, if they are equal, there is an energy balance. According to this slide, the maximum metabolic disorders are observed through pancreas and liver channels. For patients with type 2 diabetes, there is a large difference in symmetry disturbance between men and women. For men, disorders mainly occur in the channel of the pancreas, stomach, and lungs. For women, mainly in the liver, stomach, and pancreas. Step-by-step regression is the most effective tool for evaluating regulation mechanisms of carbohydrate metabolism. This allows us to identify vectors and influence coefficients for each channel in this process. For patients with confirmed type 1 diabetes and partially retained pancreatic function, the most significant regression model of relation with blood glucose levels was obtained, which is practically identical for men and women. In this model, the right branch of the liver and pancreatic channel has the greatest positive influence vector on glycemic levels. Its growth reflects the growth of glycemia. In contrast, the left branch of the pancreatic channel and the right branch of the stomach channel have negative influence vector. Based on these observations, it is logical to display the following scheme of reflex connections to the pancreas, where the right diagnostic point of pancreas channel reflects beta cells activity and the left reflects alpha cells activity. At the same time, the asymmetric growth of pancreas parameters of the right branch channel corresponds to the proportional hypofunction of beta cells, which leads to hyperglycemia growth. So, there is a kind of carbohydrate balance. On one side, with a positive communication vector, there are right channel pancreas points that reflects the increase of glucose level in the blood. On the other side, there are left points, whose growth also reflects a decrease in glycemia. Which of the sides will weigh in that direction, the nearest change in glycemia will be. Normally, these sugar scales are in constant motion and form the endogenous biorhythm of the pancreas. So, optimal blood sugar values are normally maintained. If the organ does not work, biorhythms are absent, and test parameters are always the same at different blood sugar levels. The endogenous biorhythms of various organs can be determined from the data of several tests in the dynamics of observation using the programs of cosigner analysis. Dedicated biorhythm can be extrapolated for the future, and thus the glycemic level can be predicted. Let us assume that the individual regression model of the connection with glucose includes channels of pancreas, kidneys, and gallbladder. All of them have different oscillation periods and phases in time. Thus, according to calculations, the glucose level can also differ significantly due to sharp fluctuations in the total vector of effects of several channels as a consequence of their biorhythms interference. This concept explains why, under strict conditions of nutrition and treatment, the level of glycemia is not stable for patients. This slide contains summary biorhythmic activity of pancreas, liver, and kidneys based on observation test results for 38 days. Different channels have different period of activity. This slide shows graphs of real biorhythm interference that results in significant changes in glycemic levels at different times. Creation of such individual control system will allow to predict the patient's condition for 1 to 2 days in advance, with the possibility of changing the dose of drugs to prevent crisis situations. To select the type of treatment for both types of diabetes, it is necessary to construct a regression model based on learning measurements. This usually requires at least 10 to 15 tests with large fluctuation of glycemia level. After this, it becomes clear which channels really affect on glycemia level. This principle is shown on the slide in relation to type 2 diabetes, where two channel groups have different vectors of influence on glycemia. Taking into account their influence coefficients and rhythmic characteristics, it is possible to predict the glycemia level and calculate the optimal time for taking sugar-reducing drugs in their dose, taking into account the rules of chronopharmacology. Similarly, this technique can be applied to monitor other diseases. Last year, we published an article on evaluating the effects of different types of insulin and their dosage on acupuncture channels. This article contains analysis of regression models for links between glycemia level and channels for men and women with type 1 and 2 diabetes on the basis of a large statistical material. Then, in a similar way, the effect of different types of insulin and their dose on channels was assessed. This slide, in a pivot table, presents the resulting data from such comparisons. It shows only those channels that most reliably reflect the relationship with glycemia level with type and dose of insulin. In general, it was found that the effect of insulin, in the optimal case, extends to the same channels that are affected by the level of glycemia. Only the side of the channel or the vector of influence changes to the opposite one. Thus, if for example, in type 1 diabetes according to the general model, an increase in the glycemia level is accompanied by a proportional increase in the indicator of the right branch of the pancreatic channel, then the effective action of insulin should be accompanied by an action on the same branch of this channel with the opposite sign influence, which leads to a decrease of asymmetry level. There may be another effect of insulin, an indicator of the left branch of this channel increases and the asymmetry also disappears. Comparing individual models of influence of glycemia and insulin on channels in each specific case, one can see how fully a particular drug affects the entire list of channels in which, under the influence of a disease or other negative effect on the body, a violation of symmetry occurred. In each specific case, the number of such couplings is taken into account. The result will be optimal when, under influence of a medicine or dietary supplement, the restoration of symmetry has occurred everywhere. The cure for the disease then works like a key to a lock. However, this effect is always observed. In this case, you can apply several drugs or dietary supplements that are different in their effect on the channels, which will generally restore symmetry and harmony.
Dr. Valerie, is there any problem? Hello? Your voice is not audible.
We have
Yeah,
trouble with internet connection. You try to connect to another point.
Hello?
Violation of symmetry occurred. In each specific case, the number of such couplings is taken into the result will be optimal when, under the influence of medicine or dietary supplement, the restoration of symmetry has occurred everywhere. The cure for the disease then works like a key to a lock. However, this effect is not always observed. In this case, you can apply several drugs or dietary supplements that are different in their effect on the channels, which will generally restore symmetry and harmony in the body. This is a general universal principle, which has been tested over many years of work for various diseases in the treatment of various medicines. This slide shows the principle of selecting the optimal dose of a drug, using the example of the action insulin on the pancreas channel. Initially, under the influence of 10 insulin units, the indices of the right and left branches of the pancreas channel were aligned with the restoration of harmony. In the case of using the 30 insulin units, the indicator of the left branch will exceed the right one, and their ratio will be less than 1, which is already characteristic of hypoglycemia. Recently, our new article was published, which shows, using clinical example, how this technique is carried out in reality. To carry out such monitoring, user needs to make a series of measurements before and after taking medications at several points, and build graphs of asymmetry changes at different points, which is quite cumbersome in practice. Therefore, over the past 20 years, we have been looking for a way to constantly assess channel activity over time through analysis of pulse wave parameters. Recently, such a solution has been found using phase and spectral analysis, and we are planning to launch them in an individual device in the near future. In this case, the monitoring procedure is radically simplified. Through a heart rate sensor, for example in a watch, information is sent to a smartphone, where data is continuously processed. This slide shows 3 main types of response to treatment over time, using insulin as an example, obtained through continuous monitoring with a pulse sensor. In the case of optimally selected dose, for example insulin, the asymmetry becomes equalized. Normally, it corresponds to fluctuations of 10 to 50%. If insulin or another drug does not act on the system, then the asymmetry persists. In the case of an excessive dose of medication, or dietary supplements, or improper nutrition, for example after a large dose of alcohol, an inverse asymmetry occurs, which leads to new complications. This principle is universal.
Of course, in this short review, we have covered only the main components. And so with technology. Overall, it is based on the fundamental principle of symmetry and asymmetry in nature. In this case,
Yeah, hello, Dr. Valerie. They did bun.
I don't know if it was possible to understand the presentation well. It's such a sound of video quality.
Green.
But we can share a link on our presentation, so you can watch it later
I'm really
in good
sorry for the
quality.
interruption. I'm really sorry for the interruption. The screen is actually not visible. Your screen is actually not visible. Dr. Valerie, yeah, now it's visible.
Yes, I hear.
Yeah, you can now continue with that. Yeah.
It's unsuccessful presentation. I sent sound from Russia and you sent a picture from USA. Different and don't connection altogether. Maybe we'll end with lecture users. This is more easy, more simple.
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Valerie.
Yes, I hear.
Hello, Dr. Valerie. Yeah, is this video is over?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Valerie, for your presentation. It's a very nice speech. It will be glad if you have any questions from other speakers too. Yeah, thank you. I think you don't have any questions, so we can go further for the next talk from Dr. Liu Hichuan from Southeast University, China. Dr. Liu.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
you hear
welcome,
me?
Dr. Yeah, yeah, I'm able to hear.
Okay.
Can you, oh, yeah. Can you share your screen, please?
How can
Yes.
I share my Green.
Yeah, you can see in the screen that the screen sharing button is there at the bottom of your screen. Is it visible, Dr. Liu?
Yeah, I try to share my screen.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it's not
How,
visible. You can click
how
on
to
the
do it?
screen.
Mm,
You can see a button
So,
like screen on the screen. You can click on that.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's visible.
Can you see it? My slides?
Yeah, yeah. Now it's visible. Is it visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Liu. You can start your presentation.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Uh,
Uh, okay. Today my topic is high fat diets rich in different oils affected lipid profiles and gut microbiota. My research includes three parts. First is different effects of high fat diets rich in different oils on several lipids and the endothelial function and gut microbiota. The second part is the effects of N3 on glycolipids, metabolism, and gut microbiota. The third part is parallel oil supplementation improves the hypertriglyceridemia and gut disorders in diabetic KKA mice. The gut microbiota that inhabits in the intestinal tract during adulthood is a complex microbiome community, mainly consisting of bacteria. It is populated by about 1 million trillion microbes. Oh, sorry. Can you see my slides? No. Hi, hello.
hello. Sorry, Dr. Liu.
Hi,
Is there any
can
problem?
you see my slides? No.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone is able to see the slides, I think.
Okay. I will continue.
Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, I can see them.
Yes, I
Okay.
can see.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Liu. You can continue with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. I will continue. And the gut microbiota that inhabits in the intestinal tract during adulthood is a complex microbiome community, mainly consisting of bacteria. It is populated by about 1 million trillion microbiome of more than 2,000 species. Gut microbiota is mainly divided into the restricted set of the phylum Firmicute, Bacteroidetes, Actinobacteria, and Proteobacteria account for the most substantial part of the phylum, more than 90%. High fat diet is a risk factor of lipid metabolism disorder, obesity, and cardiovascular diseases. High-fat consumption is typically involved in Western dietary habits and is gradually increasing in popularity in the Eastern populations. However, different high-fat diets contain different fatty acids compositions. Western people prefer to use more animal fat rich in saturated fatty acid. Vegetables oils rich in PUFA are often used in Chinese cooking. Olive oil, as a part of the Mediterranean diet, is a rich source of MUFA. The current evidence suggested the high-fat diet has the detrimental impacts on endothelial function. Nevertheless, the evidence regarding the comparative effects of MUFA or PUFA rich diet and SFA on endothelial function is limited and uncertain. About the first part research methods. The first is about animals and treatments. Mice were randomly divided into 4 groups. 12 mice are in per group. The first is the control group with a standard chow diet, 10% energy from fat. The second is olive oil group with the high-fat diet rich in olive oil. And the third is soybean oil group with the high-fat diet rich in soybean oil. The final is lard oil group with the high-fat diet rich in lard oil. This table is the composition of experimental diet. We can see the mice were fed with the high-fat diet, 45% energy from fat according to the research diet D12451, where only the dietary oils were all replaced by the olive oil or soybean oil or lard oil in 3 high-fat diet groups respectively. Serum Tg and Tc were measured by blood biochemical analysis. Endothelial function index were measured by ELISA kits. About gut microbiota analysis, 8 mice were randomly selected from each group for gut microbiota analysis. Microgenetic DNA was extracted from mouse colonic feces. The hypervariable V3 to V4 region of the bacterial 16 RNA gene were analyzed. All DNA samples were amplified and purification using primer pale. The high throughput sequence were performed by HiScreen 2500. Let me show the results. This table is the mean body weight and the feed intake in mice. All animals started the experiments with a similar body weight. No differences in ending weight were observed among groups. The mean feed intake did not differ among the 4 groups during the experimental period. This table is the effects of the different oils on serum lipids, oxidative stress, and endothelial cell function. Serum Tc in lard oil group, soybean oil group, and olive oil groups were significantly higher than that in control group. Serum Tg in lard oil group and soybean oil groups were significantly higher than those in olive oil and control group. High-fat diet, especially containing lard oil, can affect oxidative stress injury and endothelial dysfunction significantly. Sequences were classed into the same operational taxonomic units based on the greater than 97% similarity. Then the taxonomic analysis of OTUs aggregations and species was carried out. All 389 operational taxonomic units were dedicated. Among these, 362 were shared by all groups. The unique OTUs were 3, 00, and 1 in control group, olive oil group, soybean oil group, and lard oil group, respectively. The red function curve, shine index curve, and red abundance curve and species accumulation curve were calculated. The higher OTU coverage means the higher probability of species being measured and the lower probability of not being measured. The index reflects whether the results of this sequence represents the true situation of microorganisms in the sample. When the number of sequence samples exceeds the 30 hundreds, rarefaction curves and shear index curves both tend to be smooth. When the sample number was 8 in each group, the cumulative curve of relative abundance of microbes at the genus level also tend to be stable. These figures are about alpha diversity. Alpha diversity reflects the species richness and diversity in individual samples with a lot of measures, including CHA1 and ACE indices. CHA1 and ACE indices measure richness, that is, the number of species. Shear and samples indices are used to measure species diversity, influenced by the species richness and community evenness in sample communities. With the same species richness, the greater community evenness is considered the greater diversity. The larger chain index value and the smaller sample index value indicate the higher species diversity of the sample. There were significant differences in richness indices between lard oil group and the control group, as well as between soybean oil group and control group. In contrast, the control diet had the lowest sample index and the highest shear index value. Olive oil group and soybean oil group show intermediate levels of the microbial diversity. This figure shows the beta diversity analysis using principal component analysis, principal coordinate analysis, and the non-metric metadimensional scaling analysis. They all indicated that high-fat diets result in distinguishable microbean composition compared with the control group. The first principal coordinate in the principal component analysis explained the 17.05% of the overall variation. The second principal coordinated axis explained the 12.03% of the variability in microbean communities. NMDS and the PCOA analysis showed olive oil group and soybean oil group were relatively coherent, and there is a clear separation among control group and high-fat diet groups. Using Adam's methods, there are significant differences among the four groups. At the phyla level, Firmicutes, Bacteroidetes, Actinobacteria, and Prinobacteria were the top four significant phyla in all groups, accounting for more than 90%. The reliability abundance of Firmicutes in four groups were similar. Then the abundance of Bacteroidetes in control group and soybean oil group were higher than those in lard oil group and olive oil group. However, the abundance of the Actinobacteria in control group and soybean oil group were lower than those in lard oil group and olive oil groups. The heat map analysis of the top class is presented, which assessed the visual differences in bacterial composition. The composition at class level, lard oil group and soybean oil group were more similar to each other, whereas the olive oil was extremely similar to control group. These three bacteria were really low in control group and high in lard oil groups. And these 4 bacteria, including Bacillus and others, were really high in control group and low in lard oil group and soybean oil groups. The sequence of OTU with highest abundance at the genus level was selected as the representative sequence to structure the phylogenetic tree. The largest amount of the top genus belonged to the Firmicutes, followed by Bacteroidetes, Actinobacteria, and Protobacteria. Only a small amount of the high abundance genus belonged to the Tenorcutes, Cyanobacteria, and others. Line discriminate effect size analysis was conducted to explore which bacteria biomarkers were significantly different among high-fat groups compared with the control groups. These figures presented the cladograms at 6 different levels from kingdom to genus. In control group, these 4 bacteria belong to family levels had the large effect size. In lard oil group, these 3 bacteria belong to family levels had the large effect size. In soybean oil groups, the older Bacteroidetes and the 2 genus bacteria had the large effect size. These figures show the bacteria abundances, which had significant differences from phyla to family level. At the family level, the Actinobacteria and Bacteroidetes showed a reduction in lard oil group and olive oil group compared with the control group and the soybean oil groups. There is a reduction in the abundance of Protobacteria after high-fat diets. High-fat diet results in the decrease of Bacillus, Clostridium, and others at the class level. This figure shows the significant correlation between TC and MDA levels and the changes of microbiota relative abundance by Pearson analysis. The abundance of actinobacteria had a significant positive relationship with the serum TC and MDA levels. There were the negative correlations between lactobacillus relative abundance and serum TG and MDA levels. The conclusions about this part are the high-fat diet, especially rich in lard oil, can cause lipid metabolism disorder, oxidative stress injury, and endothelial dysfunction. The high-fat diet exerts determined effects on the specific alteration in the gut microbiota, which increases the actinobacteria abundance, also decreases the lactobacillus and microbiota diversity. Limiting fat intake is recommended as a key element in disease prevention. Our study provides that the serum TC and MD levels have positive correlations with actinobacteria abundance and negative correlations with the lactobacillus abundance. The second part is effects of N3-PUFA on glucolipids and on gut microbiota. Type 2 diabetes has been one of the major chronic non-communicable diseases around the world. According to the International Diabetes Foundation, an estimated 463 million adults aged 20 to 79 years are currently living with diabetes. In China, the prevalence of diabetes in adults is around 10%. Based on epidemiology and economic data among 184 countries, the total global economic burden of diabetes patients aged 20 to 79 amounted $1.31 trillion, accounting for the 1.8% of global gross domestic product. China is the country with the largest number of diabetes in the world, and the largest health expenditure for diabetes in Asia. Exposure to omega-3 PUFA is related to the blood glucose and lipid levels. The protective effects of omega-3 PUFA on cardiovascular diseases and diabetes have become a hot issue in the medicine and nutrition fields. Dietary omega-3 PUFA can be classified into animal-derived and plant-derived omega-3 PUFA. Fish oil is the most abundant animal source of omega-3 PUFA, which are mainly EPA and DHA. Plant-derived omega-3 PUFA is represented by ALA. In recent years, emerging evidence have changed our understanding of the close relationship between gut microbiota and diabetes. In December 2016, the International Scientific Association for Probiotic and Prebiotic updated the definition of prebiotic. PUFA for the first time ranked as one of the prebiotic. However, the effects of omega-3 PUFA supplementation on gut microbiota in type 2 diabetes is still unclear. In order to explain the effects of omega-3 PUFA from animal and plant sources on gut microbiota in diabetes, we conducted the following animal experiments. About the methods, the 70 diabetic KKA1 mice was divided into diabetic model group, low-dose fish oil group, middle-dose fish oil group, high-dose fish oil group, and low-dose perrier oil group, middle-dose perrier oil group, and high-dose perrier oil group. 10 mice in each group. They were fed with high-fat diet. 45% energy from fat according to the research diet D12451. Perrier oil and fish oil supplementation was administered by garage once a day from 2 to 5 p.m. The low dose was 0.67 gram per kilogram body weight, and the middle dose was 1.33 gram per kilogram body weight, and the high dose was 2 gram per kilogram body weight. The 10 mice were fed normal chow diet as normal control group. This table shows the mean PUFA in oil. The PUFA in fish oil are mainly EPA and DHA. The PUFA in perrier oil is mainly ALA. Serum glucose, TG, TC, low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein, and serum insulin were determined. The second is the histological examination. The gut microbiota analysis method is similar with the previous description. This figure is the effects of fish oil on glucose and insulin levels. Low-dose fish oil intervention can reduce the blood glucose significantly compared with the diabetic model mice. However, there are no significant changes about the insulin among groups. And this figure is the effects of pyrrole oil on glucose and insulin levels. There are no significant changes about blood glucose and insulin among groups. This figure is the effects of the pyrrole oil on lipid levels. Pyrrole oil can reduce the TG level significantly compared with the diabetic model group. And compared with the fish oil interventions, TG in pyrrole oil group are all lower than those in fish oil groups, no matter the dosage. Histological examination of liver these figures are about histological examination about liver white adipose tissue and brown adipose tissue among fish oil and pyrrole oil intervention groups. Histological examination of liver white adipose and brown adipose tissue in normal control group showed normal cell architecture. However, the histological evolution in diabetes mice revealed serial hyperthalassemia, microvascular steatosis, and a large number of single-pap adipocytes. This change of liver and white adipose tissue were ameliorated by pyrrole oil and fish oil supplementation, especially in high-dose groups. We choose 3 mice in each group to do the gut microbiota analysis. This figure is the relative abundance of the top 10 failure in each group. At failure level, the Firmicutes, Bacteroidetes, Actobacteria, and Proteobacteria was the top 4 significant failure. The left figure is a heat map analysis of the top abundance of gut microbiome at failure level, and the right figure is a heat map analysis of the top abundance of gut microbiota at genus level. These figures are ternary plot analysis. The left is about fish oil, and the right is about pyrrole oil. The size of the plot means the abundance. We can see the gut microbiota compositions are really different between fish oil and pyrrole oil groups. These are the operational taxonomic unit Venn diagram. The left is about fish oil intervention group. 437 operational taxonomic units were shared by all groups. The unique OTUs were 22, 25, 3, 17, and 8 in normal control group, diabetic model mice group, low-dose fish oil group, middle-dose fish oil group, and high-dose fish oil group, respectively. The right is about the pyrrole oil intervention group. 430 operational taxonomic units were shared by all groups. The unique OTU were 17, 18, 9, 9, and 13 in normal control group, diabetic model mice group, low dose, middle dose, and high dose pyrrole oil group, respectively. For bacterial richness, significantly lower ACE was observed in diabetic model animal groups than that in normal control groups. Compared with the diabetic model animal groups, significantly higher ACE was observed in high-dose pyrrole oil and the middle-dose fish oil and the low-dose fish oil groups. There was no differences in the value of ACE between high-dose parallel oil group and normal control groups. Middle for bacterial diversity. For bacterial diversity, no significant differences in the Shine index were discovered among the groups. This figure is beta analysis. Diabetic mice have the different gut microbiota compositions with normal control group, and high-dose parallel oil can change these differences. This figure identified the significant different species between diabetic motor mice fed with high-fat diet and the normal control groups. This figure presented the significant different species between the diabetic motor mice fed with the high-fat diet and the low-dose fish oil groups. This figure presented the significant different species between diabetic model mice fed with the high-fat diet and the high-dose fish oil groups. This figure presented the significant different species between the diabetic model mice and the low-dose parallel oil groups. And this figure is about the significant different species between the diabetic animals and the high-dose fish oil group. The conclusion about these experiments as the abundance, diversity, and species of the gut microbiota changed in diabetic KA1 mice compared with normal control animals, and the intervention of fish oil and parallel oil caused the corresponding changes. And on the lactose UCG abundance in diabetic KKA1 mice are higher than normal animals, while high and low doses of parallel oil and high doses of fish oil reduce their abundance. Its critical significance and role in the development of the diabetes into the further study. The differences between the high-dose parallel oil group and the model animals was more obvious. Continue the above experiment. Colonic contents of the normal control group, diabetic KKA1 group, and parallel oil group parallel oil intervention groups increased to 10 cases per group. For the further investigated the effects of the parallel oil on intestinal flora of KKA1 mice, we found the different results. The first is about the relative abundance of the 10 top phyla in each group. At the phyla level, the Firmicutes, Bacteroidetes, and Pretecobacteria were the top 3 significant phyla. However, the Actinobacteria become the 5th. Tunnel plot analysis showed the Dupsilla and the Pterobacter were the most abundant genus in low parallel oil groups relative to the middle parallel oil groups and high parallel oil groups. Lactobacillus was the most abundant genus in high-dose parallel oil relative to the low parallel oil groups and the middle dose parallel oil group. In all dedicated operational taxonomic units, 568 OTUs were shared by all groups. The unique OTUs were 25, 49, 18, 7, and 26 in normal control group, diabetic model animal group and the low dose, middle dose, and high dose parallel oil group, respectively. There was no significant differences in the value of ACE and Shy among the 5 groups. No metric methyl scaling analysis showed the normal control group and low-dose parallel oil group were reliability coherent. The first figure shows the significant different species at the genus level between the normal control group and diabetic model animal groups. The second figure shows the significant different species at genus level between the diabetic model animals and low-dose parallel oil groups. The third figure shows the significant different species at the genus levels between the diabetic model animals and the middle dose parallel oil groups. The final figure shows the significant different species at genus level between the diabetic model animals and the high dose parallel oil groups. They all indicated that the bacteria bloatia in diabetic model animals group were significantly higher than other normal control groups. However, parallel oil can reduce this higher bacteria in diabetic model animals. The conclusions about this are the low and the middle doses of parallel oil can improve the diversity of gut microbiota in KKA1 diabetic mice. Parallel oil can reduce the relative abundance of the bloatia. The differences between the low-dose parallel oil group and normal group was really small, about the sample size. Number of the animals, if you want to do the gut microbiota, it is important to as large as possible. Thanks for your listening.
Dr. Liu, it's been a nice presentation. I would request if you have any questions from other speakers too. Okay, thank you, Dr. Liu. I think there are no questions from other speakers. Actually, we have a lump time at now at 1:20, but we are having two more speeches from India. Two more speeches from India after the lunch break. I would request everyone, if everyone is okay, if we play the speeches before the lunch, because right now it's in India, it's at 10:44 p.m.
Sorry, Jessica, for interrupting you. My name is Anastasia. I'm talking on behalf of Valery Muzhikov. Because, the problems of our presentation and now with internet, it's so good. First of all, I wanted to ask whether all the information was okay. It was understandable, clear. We will send you a link once again with video and all the information, but maybe someone have a question regarding this presentation and we are willing to answer any questions you have.
Definitely. I would request to everyone, if you have any questions on Dr. Valery presentation.
Or maybe we can send, you can share our presentation with everybody in this, and then with also email of Valerie, and then we can answer directly to any questions you have. And sorry, our apologizes for this inconvenience with the internet, but sometimes it happens.
It sometimes happens. It's not a problem. We will definitely share the video of Dr. Valery's presentation. If anyone is having any questions, they will definitely share with you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to request anyone, if it is okay, if we strip the speeches of two Indians, Dr. Amaya and Narendra Kumar, before the lunch. We have 3 speeches after the lunch. One is from Greece and 2 from India. Can I know the opinion of all?
I'm okay. This is Carla.
Yeah. I'm requesting everyone, if everyone is okay, then we can continue with the speeches of other three which are left for the day.
I am okay. I'm Georgia from Greece.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Georgia. And the remaining ones, hello, Dr. Narendra Kumar. Are you available? Georgia, okay. Okay. Hello, Dr. Ameya Deepak Joshi. Okay. Okay. Is anyone available after this lunch speeches, Dr. Georgia, Dr. Ameya, and Dr. Narendra Kumar?
I am
Hello.
available.
Yeah, doctor, I can hear you. Dr. Narendra Kumar and Dr. Ameya Deepak Joshi, are you available on the screen? Okay. Okay, we can continue with the speech of Dr. Georgia Farkoloki from National Technical University of Athens, Greece. Yeah, hello, Dr. Georgia. Are you?
Yes, I am available. Can you make me a presenter in order to share my screen?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, please share your screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah. Is it available to everyone?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You can start, Dr. Georgia.
Perfect. So, I'm Georgia Frakolaki. I am a PhD student at National Technical University of Athens, and I am going to present you a comparative study of encapsulation methods for the viability preservation of Bifidobacterium animalis species lactis and its subsequent incorporation into yogurt. So, probiotic bacteria are defined by the World Health Organization as live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer health benefit on the host. The most commonly used probiotic microorganisms belong to the genera of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium. The beneficial effect of probiotic bacteria includes antagonistic and immune effects. They can prevent or even treat acute diarrhea symptoms caused by pathogens, act against a certain pathogen, Helicobacter pylori, that causes type B gastritis, peptic ulcers, or even gastric cancer. They can also treat constipation and prevent inflammatory bowel diseases. Moreover, they can behave as antimutagens and have a beneficial action against carcinogenesis by preventing carcinogens production from the gut microflora. Moreover, they can also decrease symptoms related to antibiotic consumption. Other health benefits include modulation of the host immunity, decrease of harmful substances that may exist in the gut, prevention of allergies and cardiovascular or urogenital disorders, a reduction of blood cholesterol, prevention from heart diseases, and relief from symptoms of lactose intolerance. However, not all the reported health benefits are provided by every probiotic strain. Each strain exerts specific effects on the host. Prebiotics are substances that are degraded by the gut microbiota, but cannot be digested by human body. They are able to enhance the growth and activity of probiotic bacteria, especially those belonging to Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium genera. Some of the most common ones are inulin, fructooligosaccharides, and galactoligosaccharides. The combination of probiotic bacteria and prebiotics lead to a symbiotic system. Due to their synergistic action, improvement of probiotic viability and action is achieved. Nowadays, due to their promoted healthy lifestyle, there is an increasing market demand for functional foods, especially functional foods with viable probiotic bacteria have become of particular interest due to their health-promoting effects. Speaking in numbers, the global market of probiotic products reached a value of almost $50 billion in 2018, whereas a rapid increase, almost up to $70 billion, is expected by 2023. Probiotic bacteria have already been incorporated into a wide variety of food products. Dairy products, which are the most common matrices for probiotics, include yogurt, cheese, ice cream, and dairy desserts. Non-dairy products have also been developed, including juices, cereals, chocolate, and meat products. Probiotic food products are associated with many health benefits, but in order to provide them to the host, probiotic bacteria should be metabolically stable and active in the final product. They should survive during passage through the stomach and reach in the intestine in adequate amounts, more than 7 log/CFU per gram, as identified by the International Dairy Federation. Consequently, viability loss is a major concern during the development of a probiotic product. So the main question is, how can we face this challenge? The key is to provide probiotic bacteria with a physical barrier between bacteria and the environment in order to protect them and deliver them to the gut. In other words, encapsulation technology can be an efficient approach to this challenge. Encapsulation can be defined as a physicochemical or mechanical process to entrap a substance, also called active agent, into a suitable material, also called wall material, and in order to produce spherical particles with a thin but strong semi-permeable membrane. The diameter of the particles usually is between a few nanometers to a few millimeters, and in the case of probiotics encapsulation, the wall material should be able to isolate them from the host system, but simultaneously allow the diffusion of metabolites and extracellular nutrients. Encapsulation agents are the substances used for the development of the wall material, and the wall material protects the core material, the probiotic kernels in this case, from external factors. For probiotic encapsulation, a variety of encapsulation methods have been reported. Methods such as extrusion, emulsification, and complex preservation are some of the mildest ones, ensuring high survivability during processing. Spray drying and freeze drying have been widely applied, and also other methods such as electrospinning, electrospraying, spray sealing, and fluidized bed coating have also been reported. Extrusion and emulsification were applied in the current study for the encapsulation of Bifidobacterium animalis lactis. Extrusion is a physical method where live probiotic cells are encapsulated into hydrocolloid materials, such as alginate and carrageenan. It is a well-established and very common process based on the forced passage of a solution containing the cells through nozzles. The bacterial culture is initially mixed with a biopolymer solution in order to form a suspension. The final liquid is extruded through a nozzle at high pressure and the droplets produced are gathered in a gelling bath, most commonly a solution of calcium chloride. Gel beads are directly formed as the cells are entrapped in a three-dimensional grid that occurs from the ionic cross-linking of the polymer. Extrusion through nozzles for the production of beads is mainly reported on a laboratory scale, but by using simple equipment such as syringes. In the case where droplets are formed in a controlled way instead of spraying, the method is termed as sprilling. Bead size and sphericity are customized accordingly to the operational factors such as the needle diameter, the distance between the outlet and the gelling bath, and the concentration, temperature, viscosity, and flow rate of the biopolymer solution. Okay. Extrusion technology can be performed either under aerobic or anaerobic conditions and has many advantages such as simplicity, easy handling, and low cost at small scale. Moreover, the beads produced display very narrow size distribution compared to the emulsion technique, and the operational conditions are gentle enough to ensure high percentages of viable cells. Food-grade materials are also involved, and the flaws of this technique are the large size of the formed particles, 2 to 5 millimeters, and the difficulty of its application in large scale due to the slow particle formation. The latter, however, can be addressed through the use of multiple nozzle systems, spinning disk atomizers, or jet cutter techniques. Emulsification. Emulsification is based on the association and the interaction between the discontinuous and the continuous phases. The discontinuous phase, a small volume of the cell polymer dispersion, is added to the continuous phase, a large volume of oil. The mixture is homogenized in order to form a water-in-oil emulsion. And after the emulsion is formed, calcium chloride solution is added in order to cross-link the water polymer and form particles within the oil phase. Bead size and sphericity are customized accordingly to operational factors such as agitation speed, water-oil ratio, addition rate of the cross-linking solution, and concentration of the emulsifier. It must be noted that the application of the emulsifiers reduces the surface tension, resulting in smaller particles. Emulsification is also a simple and low-cost process and can be easily applied at industrial level. It offers high survivability as it does not include any heat treatment. The bead's diameter may even be below 300 micrometers, a size difficult to be achieved through the extrusion method. However, this technique leads to wide size range and shape. And another disadvantage of the method is the residue left on the particle surface through the application of oils as a continuous phase. Through probiotics microencapsulation, The bacterial cells are enwrapped into encapsulating agents suitable for food applications. The materials used should have ideally these properties: good rheological properties at high concentrations, meaning low viscosity at high solids levels and low hygroscopicity, capability to disperse or emulsify the active material and stabilize the emulsion produced. Therefore, they should have adequate emulsifying properties and be a good film former. Capability to seal and hold the active material within its structure during processing and storage. Capability to offer maximum protection to the active material against environmental conditions, oxygen, heat, or humidity. Solubility in water. Release properties of encapsulated bacteria in the intestinal environment. Bland in taste and low in cost. A wide variety of materials are used as encapsulating agents. Marine extracts, such as alginate and carrageenan, are commonly used, as well as plant extracts like gum arabic and pectin. Polysaccharides, including starch and cellulose and their derivatives, are usually used, as well as chitosan and xanthan and zelanga. And depending on the method, proteins and lipids have also been reported. As said before, sodium alginate is one of the most commonly used materials for probiotics encapsulation. It is a naturally derived polysaccharide extracted from various species of algae and consists of manuronic and hyaluronic acids. The composition of the polymer chain varies in amount and in sequential distribution according to the source of the alginate. So how can alginate function in order to achieve encapsulation of probiotics? Sodium alginate interacts with calcium ions in the presence of calcium chloride, develops a three-dimensional grip, and entraps the probiotic bacteria. It is widely used because of its simplicity, non-toxicity, biocompatibility, and low cost. It also provides protection to the cells against external factors such as acidity. And it also have been demonstrated that alginates with a high content of hyaluronic acid blocks are preferable for capsule formation because of their mechanical stability, high porosity, and tolerance to salts and chelating agents. Our research team has already encapsulated probiotic bacteria in alginate systems. Alginate on its own have provided efficient protection, whereas its combination with other materials such as xanthan, whey, pectin, or glycerol improved the survival of bifidobacteria under storage or simulated gastrointestinal conditions. Moreover, the incorporation of prebiotic substances such as inulin or nutrients such as glucose had a beneficial effect. In the current study, the alginate systems are combined with carrageenan and nanocrystalline cellulose. Carrageenan is a natural polysaccharide that is extracted from marine microalgae and usually is commonly used as a food additive due to its gelling, thickening, and stabilizing properties. Nanocrystalline cellulose, or CNC, is obtained through acid hydrolysis of cellulose. It is composed of rod-like shaped nanoparticles and it is a non-toxic nanomaterial with potential in food industry. It has been reported that incorporation of CNC in the alginate mixer increases the mechanical properties of the beads. The current study employs with the encapsulation of Bifidobacterium animalis species lactis through the two encapsulation methods mentioned before, extrusion and emulsification. The resulting beads were incorporated into milk prior to yogurt fermentation, and the final products were examined regarding the viability of Bifidobacteria during storage, as well as the characteristics of the yogurt samples. In this table is presented the composition of the mixtures that were used as encapsulating agents. The same mixtures were applied at both methods. During the extrusion process, each encapsulating agent was mixed with 5% probiotic culture and added drop-wise in calcium chloride solution for the formation of hydrogel beads. The formed beads were harvested by filtration. Similarly, during the emulsification process, the aqueous phase, consisting of the encapsulating agent and 5% probiotic culture, was homogenized with olive pomace oil at a ratio of 1:3. Afterwards, calcium chloride solution was added drop-wise under stirring for the formation of hydrogel beads. The formed beads were harvested by centrifugation. For the preparation of probiotic yogurt, the milk was heat-treated at 90 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes and subsequently cooled to 45 degrees Celsius. Then it was inoculated with conventional encapsulated probiotic culture and incubated at 45 degrees Celsius until the pH reached the value 4.5. The final products were stored at 4 degrees Celsius. During the fermentation process, the pH was monitored and the pH values were adjusted to the modified Gober's model. After the end of the fermentation, physicochemical measurements were conducted at the final samples. Viscosity of the samples at 45 degrees Celsius, as well as after 24 hours of storage at 4 degrees Celsius, was measured by using a rotary viscometer. Moreover, after 24 hours of storage at 4 degrees Celsius, the texture characteristics were examined by using a texture analyzer. Microbiological analyses were executed after the end of the encapsulation process in order to calculate encapsulation yield, as well as on yogurt samples during 30-day storage at 10 days intervals, in order to check the viability of the encapsulated probiotic bacteria. The results obtained regarding the encapsulation yield at each case are presented in Figure 1. Alginate carrageenan combination was more efficient in encapsulating probiotics than alginate CNC combination, leading to higher encapsulation yield values. What is more, incorporation of inulin decreased encapsulation yield, probably through partial inhibition of alginate and calcium ions interactions during the formation of the three-dimensional network. Higher encapsulation yield values were achieved by emulsification. Probiotic yogurt samples were stored under refrigeration for a 30-day period, and their viability was examined at 10 days intervals. The survival rates achieved at the end of the storage in the case of probiotic bacteria encapsulated by extrusion were above 72%. Alginate CNC provided greater protection than alginate carrageenan, and inulin enhanced the survival of bifidobacteria. At all cases, the bacterial load was above 6 log CFU per gram as required by the International Dairy Federation for bifidobacteria. Okay. Lower but satisfactory survival rates were achieved in the case of emulsification. The combination of alginate and CNC and inulin provided the highest survival rates, similarly to extrusion method, and the bacterial load remained above 6 log CFU per gram at all cases. The fermentation process was evaluated through pH monitoring. The values of latent growth phase and maximum pH reduction rate that occur after adjustment of the pH data to the modified Gobert's model, as well as the total fermentation time, are presented in Figure 4. We can see that incorporation of encapsulated probiotic bacteria affected these values, indicating the contribution of probiotics to the fermentation process. The viscosity of the yogurt samples was also affected. The incorporation of encapsulated probiotic bacteria, and especially those encapsulated by extrusion, increased the viscosity values as seen in Figure 5. The use of carrageenan in the encapsulating mixture increased further the sample's viscosity. The texture characteristics of the yogurt samples were also affected. Similarly to the viscosity values, the firmness, adhesiveness, springiness, and gumminess of the samples were increased when encapsulated, and especially by extrusion probiotic bacteria were incorporated. The cohesiveness of these samples was decreased, and the use of the hydrocolloid carrageenan in the encapsulating mixture affected the texture characteristics. Coming to the conclusions, both methods were effective in encapsulating and protecting probiotic bacteria, and although extrusion led to lower encapsulation yield values, it provided higher survival rates during storage. At all cases, the required by International Dairy Federation bacterial load was achieved at the end of the storage. Moreover, the incorporation of encapsulated probiotic bacteria into the milk, along with the conventional culture, accelerated its fermentation and improved the viscosity and the texture characteristics of the final samples. The yogurt samples with encapsulated by extrusion, and especially in the mixture of alginate carrageenan, had the best final viscosity and texture characteristics. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Georgia. It's very informative and it's a very nice presentation. Yeah, the next speech is there any questions for this? Okay, thank you for the, yeah.
Thank you
So,
very much.
thank you, Dr. Georgia. And our next presentation is from Amaya Deepak Joshi. Yeah, Dr. Amaya, are you available? Yeah, Dr. Narendra Kumar, are you available? Actually, I got a message from Dr. Amaya that he needs 15 to 20 minutes to prepare for the presentation. So I was requesting Dr. Narendra Kumar if he is available for the speech. I'm sorry for the delay, but I think Dr. Amaya is having time. He is not ready for the presentation. Can we wait for some moments if Dr. Narendra Kumar might be joining the webinar? I can wait a few minutes. Thank you, Dr. Carla.
I can wait too.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Georgia. Yeah, hello, Dr. Ameya is ready now. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Ameya.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, Dr. Narendra. Yes.
Yeah, we can have a speech of Dr. Ameya now.
Myself, Dr. Narendra Kumar.
Yeah, hello, Dr. Narendra Kumar.
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Yes.
have a
Can
speech
you please
of us.
enable the screen share?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just sharing the PPT.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Dr. Ameya, I have given you the permission. You can share your screen now and start the presentation.
Yeah. Yes. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, Thank you for this opportunity. It's indeed my pleasure to present this topic in front of this audience. So just to start with, am I audible?
इसके बाद इसका करेंगे.
Can anyone confirm whether I am audible?
Yeah, hello everyone. Is the voice is audible of Dr. Ameya?
Yes, I can hear him.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll start.
Yeah, Dr. Ameya, you can continue with this presentation.
Okay, so first of all, I was a bit confused with how this physical medicine and rehabilitation topic can fit into this nutraceutical and probiotic 2020. But later, when I come across the subheads or the sections in which one of which was the nutritional deficiency or disorders. So after that, I was very confident enough to go ahead with this topic. So myself, Dr. Ameya Joshi. I am from Mumbai, India, and I am a physical medicine and rehabilitation specialist. As you can see, the topic which I have mentioned, it is about the effect of a lateral single bar knee orthosis in correction of genuvarum in nutritional rickets. So I'll just highlight the three important terms which you should know because it will be coming all through the topic in our discussion. So orthosis, it is something you must have heard of it as an brace or a splint. It is an appliance or an equipment which simply is used to prevent or keep a joint in position or prevent the progression or recurrence of deformity. Then genuvarum, it is related to knee, which is commonly known as bow links. It is the outward angulation of around the knee. And nutritional rickets, it is because of the nutritional deficiency of vitamin D before the closure of epiphysis, usually in children. So to start with, there are normal developmental patterns seen in every child, which are related to each and every body segment, and these are normal or also we call it as physiological. So we'll talk about the changes or such patterns mainly in lower limb because it is based on which only we decided to conduct this study. So as a child grows, especially in knee, there is transition from varum, which is outward angulation, to valgus, which is inward angulation. So there are particular age limits which we should always remember because these are important for the transitions, such as at birth, it is 10 to 15 degrees of varus, outward angulation, which becomes 0 at 18 months of age. Then by 3 to 4 years, it becomes again inward, which is valgus, around 12 degrees or more. And the normal alignment, which is of valgus only, it is 7 degrees or less, achieved between 5 to 8 years of age. And normally, in 95% of cases, the condition resolves with growth in such cases. So when do we have to consider it to be pathological? It is persistence of varus deformity beyond 2 years of age at knee. Now, by various studies, it has been found that anything after 2 years of age should not be considered as normal. But what will promote this pathology? If you think about it in a simpler terms, it is nothing but the bone quality and the loading or the weight axis with which the weight will be given on the any bone or extremity. So it is said that early ambulators have more chances of developing deformity because at early age the bones are, you can say, can be molded because they are that not that mineralized. Nutritional deficiencies add more to it because of impaired mineralization such as vitamin D deficiency, rickets, and mechanical instabilities can contribute to it definitely because it will change the weight bearing axis. Now the progression of it is simply in case of virus, what we should say is there is one unopposed force which is directed towards the medial aspect, or which is thrust from outer aspect to inner aspect, and because of which there is constant pressure on the middle epiphysis, which leads to growth impairment and ultimately the progression of virus. So what are the common pathologies? So far in the literature, nutritional deficiency because of vitamin D, then Blount's disease, dysplasia, tumor infection, or any trauma. In Western world, the Blount's disease or idiopathic TBI vera is the commonest cause, whereas in Indian population, the nutritional deficiency because of rickets is the commonest problem. As you can see, vitamin D deficiency in children, the rickets is the commonest nutritional deficiency and one of the common deficiency worldwide. So vitamin D deficiency in India, there is almost 50 to 94% prevalence noted by various studies in the literature. And the commonest presentation of rickets is seen with the various skeletal manifestations, are like angular deformities or widening of wrist or knee and ankle, or even there is a rachiatic rosary, which is typical appearance of rib cage. So which takes us to the importance of treatment, because it will improve the mineralization and hence the quality of bone, and it will prevent the growth retardation, and also it will reduce the risk of chronic disease states. Now, the treatment of rickets is usually based on the types, and broadly there are 3 types to be considered: nutritional, vitamin D resistant, and hypophosphatemia. But in every treatment, vitamin D3 is the mainstay of the treatment, and there is always supplementation of calcium. There are various treatment regimen and formulations of vitamin D3 available. You must be aware that there are oral recommendations, there are parenteral recommendations. When we talk about oral formulations, then there are powdered forms, there are syrup forms, there are capsular forms, there are tablet forms. Similarly, the dosing recommendations are also these recommendations also vary. You can see one of the quote given by Dr. Balasubramanian et al. In which they have shown that there are various dosing regimen, and the one of which is the stoss therapy, which we have used here, which will come to it. Now, what was the what the literature says about treatment of rickets with deformity, whether it has to be medical, whether it has to be surgical, or whether there is any role of orthosis in it. So we now in this study have found effectivity of short leg corrective breast in children with rickets, but in his results he found a satisfactory response with bow legs but unsatisfactory with the knock knee, which is the inward angulation. Now coming to the use of orthosis in various other conditions such as tibia vera or infantile Blount's disease. It has been mentioned by Takedori et al. In his study, where they have shown the effectivity of double upright knee ankle foot orthosis. So again, this is a different design of orthosis which covers from knee to ankle with 2 uprights, and it also has 2 separate joints, and it has been shown to be with having a good tolerance and effective result. Similarly, Hensinger has also mentioned about the use of orthosis in tibia vera. And Alsena Canal, they have shown the orthotic variation in management of tibia vera again. So they have used 3 different types of orthotic designs, but these were covering from knee to ankle. Now, to support or to understand the basis of this orthotic design, or how this orthosis works. So that biomechanical effect is simply a 3-point pressure system, and reference of which has been given by Peterson and al. But the study population is genuvarum in osteoarthritis. So they have used a custom-made brace with which they have tried to give an adduction moment to reduce the load over the medial joint surface. Also, Horn and al., they have also mentioned that the medical treatment, though it is a mainstay, but resistant and progressive cases should be intervened surgically, such as hemi-epiphysiodesis. So, after reviewing all this literature, that brings us to the objectives of this study, which were to assess the effect of vitamin D restoration in correction of the deformity, to assess the effect of vitamin D with orthosis in correction of deformity, and also to analyze the assessment methods which are required for evaluation of such deformity in rickets. And the main aim of the study was to compare the effect of lateral single Varney orthosis with vitamin D restoration and only vitamin D restoration in this genuvarum in rickets. So we conducted this study after approval by the institutional as well as the university ethics committee. The patient population was 2 to 5 years of children, which reported with clinical features of rickets and bilateral genuvarum. It was performed in the outpatient department of a physical medicine and rehabilitation setting in All India Institute of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, Mumbai. So 60 patients were enrolled after the confirmation of diagnosis and taking the guardian consent. The equipment needed were the goniometer, which is an equipment to measure the angulations clinically as well as on a tracings of radiograph. Then a measuring tape, and lateral single bar knee orthosis was the equipment part of the treatment. Now, what were the assessment parameters? The main outcome parameters were the intercondylar distance and radiographic tibiofemoral angle. To monitor the effective treatment, we did a baseline of the serum vitamin D, calcium, phosphate, and alkaline phosphatase levels. And for monitoring purposes, we continued with the alkaline phosphatase. Now, in this study, we followed a vitamin D regimen, which is known as TOS therapy, which is in which we gave a single intramuscular dose of 3 lakh international units of vitamin D3 with supplementation of calcium, which is 40 milligram per kg per day. We can also give 35. We can also give it in the range of 35 to 50 milligram per kg per day. In addition to this, we continued 1000 international units of oral vitamin D3 for maintenance. Now, for choosing TOS therapy, the reason is being there is no chance that there will be lack of compliance, because we will be delivering the maximum dose in the first visit or after the diagnosis only. So there is no problem with the compliance, and the studies have shown that the changes at the level of bone, which suggest the vitamin D replenishment, have occurred at early as 2 to 3 weeks. So this is the safe and effective regimen, and because of the compliance, because there is no compliance issue, we decided to go ahead with this regimen. So we arranged 3 follow-up visits, which at 2 monthly interval. During each visit, we took a standing orthoscanogram of both the lower limbs in anterior-posterior view, and also monitored the alkaline phosphatase levels, and also measured the intercondylar distance. Now, the group 1 participants, they received the vitamin D regimen by TOS therapy and orthosis for both the sides, and group 2 participants received only Strauss therapy. Now, what was the design of orthosis? So, this is a lateral single bar knee orthosis. It is manufactured at our institute AIPMR by our prosthetics and orthotics department. So this is the upper one. What you can see, this one is the thigh shell. This is the calf shell, which will be covering from side. So this is the view when patient will be wearing this, and this is the view of orthosis if you look from front of it. So this is a condylar pad made up of soft material. This applies the adduction moment or force, and these are the Velcro straps which are given for the better fitting. So this is how we measured the intercondylar distance. The child should be standing with the knee facing forward without any rotation, and the malleoli should be close to each other. And the distance was measured with the help of tape. And this is the radiographic assessment. If you can see, the upper line, it comes from the head of femur till the center of knee, and again the lower line from the center of knee to center of ankle. The lower line passes to the long axis of tibia. That is why this is the mechanical axis for tibia, which corresponds with the anatomical as well. But this axis for femur is the mechanical axis, as it corresponds with the joint center. So this is the angulation between the mechanical axis of tibia and femur, which is made measured in a standing orthoscanogram, same arrangement as we measured the intercondylar distance. Now coming to the results. So to start with the demography, you can see in total there are almost 36% females in group 1, as well as in group 2 they are 50%. In group 1 male is 63 and female participants are 50%. As you can see, the age group, the almost 96% of age group in both the groups were 2 to 3 years, and the p-value signifies any lack of bias in the sampling. We also calculated the socioeconomic class, and we have found that in both the groups, the lower middle socioeconomic class by Kupuswamy scale was the predominant. It was calculated using the online calculator of the Kupuswamy scale. Now talking about the assessment parameters, as you can see here, the parameters at the beginning about the intercondylar distance and tibiofemoral angle, we measured both sided tibiofemoral angle and compared, for example, right tibiofemoral angle in the same child with the all the follow-ups, and the left tibiofemoral angle in the same child with the corresponding follow-ups. And then in both the groups, we compared right tibiofemoral angle changes separately and the left. So as you can see, the p-values at all these outcome parameters are not statistically significant, which indicates there is no bias in the sampling. Again, you can see the biochemical parameters in which we can see there is calcium deficiency in both the groups, the phosphate being within the normal range, and the alkaline phosphatase is raised, which is definitely seen in growing age as well as such as nutritional deficiencies. And vitamin D by definition is around 10 to 11, hence qualified as deficient state. During this study, we reported no dropouts, and there was 100% compliance to the use of orthosis. So again, this is just a look at the biochemical parameters at the initial evaluation, indicating no statistical difference between both the groups. So now, as the trend in the group 1 about the intercondylar distance, we can see the mean distance was 6.46 centimeters at the initial evaluation, which showed a decreasing trend to 2.72 centimeters. Similarly, in group 2, the initial evaluation showed 6.05 centimeters of mean intercondylar distance, and again it had a decreasing trend and reported to be 2.62 at the end of third follow. Now the results of the radiographic measurement, the tibiofemoral angle, in group 1 it showed decreasing trend for right as well as left side from 24.9 to 10.9 and 23.43 to 9.4 respectively. Now talking about results of group 2, the tibiofemoral angle again showed a decreasing trend for both the sides. And this is to summarize gross outcome of the treatment comparing both the groups. As you can see, the pathological tibia or pathological changes in femur and tibia contributing to genu varum at the initial evaluation, and how both the groups have responded and the changes have been documented. Now talking about the measurement of outcome parameters, as you can see, the group 1 changing from mean value of 6.46 centimeters of intercondylar distance to 2.72. At every follow-up, at every successive follow-up, the p-value was less than 0.001, which shows statistically significant improvement in ICD. Similarly, in tibiofemoral angle on right as well as left, in both the in group 1, it has shown statistically significant improvement. So this indicates the effectivity of treatment in group 1. Now similarly in group 2, as we can see here, the intercondylar distance as well as the tibiofemoral angle both have shown statistically significant changes at successive follow-ups till 3 visits. So this also implicates that the group 2 also received effective treatment. Now if we compare the outcome trends, then the changes are almost the similar, and the decreasing trend has been seen in both the groups in every parameter. So to compare the effectiveness of treatment between the groups, we decided to compare the percentage changes of each parameter. So as you can see here, the percentage change in intercondylar distance in group 1 and group 2 has been shown, with which we can see it is not that much difference, not that much bigger difference. Similarly, the percentage change in the tibiofemoral angle has been seen on the right side in both the groups. You can see there is not much of difference, which is again seen on similarly on the left, in the left tibiofemoral angle as well. Now when we compare these percentage changes and tried to match them statistically, we got all the results to be statistically insignificant, indicating that the comparative results showed no difference between the treatment based on the outcome in the two groups. So what are the points we should be discussing here after this? So the efficacy of orthosis. Yes, Kohino has supported our findings in 6 children with rickets using bow legs, using a short leg corrective brace. But we don't have many of such studies in children with rickets which have used orthosis of any other design and in genu varum particularly. Talking about the efficacy of vitamin D restoration alone. So the results in group 2, they suggest that Strauss therapy or vitamin D restoration by Strauss therapy is effective, and it has also been supported by the Spander et al., who has suggested that the medical treatment is the mainstay for the treatment of metabolic deformities such as rickets. So now the efficacy of Strauss therapy as vitamin D restoration. So again, it has been supported by Balasubramaniam et al., who has mentioned it to be one of the preferred treatment in the current management of rickets. Now talking about the effect or the mechanism of orthosis, with which it will unload the joint surfaces. So we have used the similar design which was used in cases of osteoarthritis, but to comment here in case of rickets, we will be needing long-term follow-up to have a concluding evidence. Now about the utility of parameters, yes, intercondylar distance and tibiofemoral angle we can say are really helpful in monitoring and treatment of such deformities, whereas there are no studies in past which have used these parameters for treatment or monitoring purpose. The efficacy of treatment in the group 2 participant, it questions the role of orthosis in group 1 because both were exposed to the similar treatment and the results were not statistically significant. Coming to the limitations of this study. So according to me as a PMR specialist, the design of orthosis is the main limitation of this study because in the literature there are various orthoses prescribed for various knee deformities and various pathologies. Like this, our design of orthoses comprise lateral bar with 2 shells covering calf and thigh and a condylar pad. It covered only one joint. But there are various designs which cover knee as well as ankle. Also certain designs which focus on the foot angulation. So we try to keep the design simple, and considering the compliance of patient, we designed it also based on the mechanical effect of the 3-point pressure system. Another drawback will be the short follow-up period of 6 months and the sample size. Apart from this, the genovarium has a multifactorial progression or dependence, because the progression or correction of this, it depends on various factors such as mechanical deformities or multi-axial deformities or body constitution. Because a knee with genovarium, it is not mandatory that it will not have any other rotational components. Even there is a possibility that the other, such as the genovarium is coronal plane deformity, there can be other plane deformities as well, or even there can be deformity in the proximal aspect, such as there can be anteversion, or there can be even extra femoral, there can be femoral anteversion or tibial torsion. So deformities can be contributed, and such factors makes it difficult to analyze statistically with limited assessment tools what we have, as it makes the knee as not a fully independent variable. But we have tried our best to minimize the errors and to select the patients carefully to have a properly focused study on the coronal plane deformity of genovarium. With which we would like to conclude that the intercondylar distance and tibiofemoral angle, these are very helpful parameters which will be used, which can be used in assessment as well as the monitoring of the treatment outcome in patients with genovarium. Now, the genovarium in nutritional rickets, it can be effectively treated with the vitamin D restoration by STOS therapy based on the results which we have. And the orthosis, the design of lateral single bar knee orthosis, it does not provide any additional benefit over the STOS therapy in the management of genovarium. But we also would like to conclude the need for the studies with different orthotic designs, as well as studies which will have a longer follow. These are the references which we have used. You can very well go through various topics. I also would like to share happily that this thesis or dissertation topic of mine has been published in Indian Journal of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation in 2018. So you can go through it to read in detail about this. And if you have any questions, we can have it now, or you can always contact me through my email ID. And thanks a lot again for the opportunity, and thank you to the audience for the patient listening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ameya. It was a nice presentation. I would like to request if you have any questions on the presentation done by Dr. Ameya. Okay, as the mail ID is displayed, if you have any queries or question related to the presentation, the questions can be sent to this mail ID. And straight away we can go to the last presentation of the day, and this is from Narendra Kumar, Amity University of Biotechnology, India. Dr. Narendra Kumar, are you online?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Narendra Kumar.
Good.
Yeah.
Namaskar.
Yeah. I have just shared the screen. You can start your presentation. Sharing the
Yes,
screen.
yes, yes, yes.
Your screen is just not visible, Dr. Narendra Kumar. Did you share the screen from your side?
Yes. Firstly, you have to open it.
In the bottom, there are 4 buttons. You
Desktop.
can click on the share screen.
This one.
Yeah,
Yes, opening the PPT.
yeah. Okay, but your screen is not visible.
Wait for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Going to be visible. You have to search it. Okay, ma'am. Is it visible?
No, doctor, it's not visible actually. Yeah, it's visible. Is it visible to everyone?
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to present my paper. This title is Preservation of Pisum sativum Fruit Seeds by Clove Eye. Myself, Dr. Narendra Kumar from MT Institute of Biotechnology, MT University, Haryana. Will it move? Just नहीं जाएगा only. Yes. Okay. Uh, Losses of food commodity due to pest infestation is a major reason of food crisis. That means food crisis is going on due to pest infestations, and food grains are acts as a source of our survival. So this, in spite of improvement in hygiene, estimated about 30% people in industrialized countries, they suffer from foodborne diseases each year. In 2002, around 2 million people died worldwide. New methods are needed for reducing these foodborne pathogens, possibly in combination with the existing methods. Especially in industrialized societies, appear to move toward green consumption, desiring fewer synthetic food additives and products without harming the environment. So the versatile composition, the main alternate may be with the versatile composition of essential oils, which is broad spectrum, have antimicrobial potential, and have very low toxicity. This have enhanced the providers produce even in perfumes, pharmaceutics, cosmetics, and as a food preservatives, as additives. All these capable of inhibiting these essential oil, inhibiting foodborne pathogens, and these have potential to extend the shelf life of processed food. Even they prolong the storage life of food by preventing rancidity and oxidation of lipids. For this connection here in India, pea is a very important nutritional leguminous vegetable. This is found in cool season regions as a cool, cold, hardy crop, and this is generally widely cultivated throughout the world. It is a rich source of protein, around 25% protein this have, amino acid, even sugar this have, 12%, carbohydrate, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium and phosphorus, apart from having a small quantity of iron. Pea food seeds are stored for varying length for various purposes. Approximately, it has been estimated that 20 to 30% of the stored pea food seeds become deteriorated by fungi. The non-scientific storage of pea in rural areas leads to heavy deterioration of pea seeds by uh, fungi and insect. But detailed studies on such deterioration of stored food seeds have not been made so far. For their management, we can manage through pesticides. Their management is done through use of chemical pesticides such as methyl phosphine and methyl bromide. Insect resistance to phosphine is a global issue now. Insect resistance to phosphine is a global issue now. Control failures have reported in field situations in countries. Methyl bromide again is a broad spectrum fumigant. This is declared as a ozone depleting substance and is being phased out completely. In view of problems with current fumigants, there is a global interest in alternative strategies of chemical substitutes, exploitation of controlled atmosphere, and integration of physical and physical methods. In spite of these chemical fumigants, synthetic pesticides, ethylene dibromide, aluminum phosphide, we must have one other alternative. That means it should be mechanically managed. So among botanical strains used as a pesticide, essential oils are promising alternative to chemical pesticides. The interest has been shown in recent era in plant products, that is essential oil, for which have fumigant action, since it is believed that natural compounds from plant resources may have the advantage over conventional fumigants in terms of they have low mammalian toxicity, they show rapid degradation, they are locally available. So the use of volatile antifungal substances for the control of diseases caused during storage has been recognized for having a better future over other fungicides. So therefore, the present study was undertaken to search a renewable, biodegradable, non-phytotoxic, and harmless botanical pesticide to control storage loss of food seed RP. Therefore, experimental work is started. We do a mycological analysis were done. Samples of pea seeds were collected from grocery stores of Gurgaon, Gorakhpur city market. Around 25 places we covered from India and examined for the associated mycoflora, associated fungal species, whatever fungal species is present in these food seeds. They were technically technically observed. Two techniques were adopted, that is agar plate method and blotter method. Total number during this investigation, total number of fungi was so these are the fungi and how uh, discovered entire seeds. This is the contamination of microbe which covers the entire seeds. Again, this is the expression how the fungal species make their colony on the seed. Next, another view how these species, fungal species growing on the seed of pea, food seed of pea in agar plate technique. another expression way of these fungal species, how it is growing, how it is covering completely these fungal species, covering the seed and deteriorating the seed, restricting their germination. Again, this is the pure culture of Aspergillus flavus having their conidia presentation. This is again pure culture of Aspergillus niger and their conidia, how it looks. So because of seeing the dominance, tests were done. Deterioration caused by dominant fungal isolated fungi, Aspergillus flavus, Aspergillus niger, Aspergillus ochraceus, Aspergillus terreus, were done with respect to weight loss and seed germination. The protein content were also evaluated. The protein content in Aspergillus flavus inoculated seeds was 10%. Aspergillus niger it was 13%, while control set without fungus shows 25% protein content. On account of wide occurrence and their pathogenicity, these were selected as test organisms, especially Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger. There was a significant decrease in weight in treated sets of Aspergillus flavus and niger. These two species, Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger, reduced seed germination percentage also. So, therefore, here we observe fungal species Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger that caused deterioration of pea seeds. So that's why for the protection, we isolated essential oil from through Clevenger apparatus from 20 plant species, and they were evaluated against these two fungal species, Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger, for their antifungal activity. The technique adopted was inverted petit plate technique. So that's why here I got out of 20 plant species, one plant oil is a very active oil, that is clove, that's botanically known as Syzygium aromaticum. This is the clove essential oil. The botanical name of the plant is Syzygium aromaticum. Their MIC was characterized. This was found to be 400 ppm against dominant fungi Aspergillus flavus and niger. This was fungistatic at 400 ppm. Oil was found to be fungicidal. That is 400 ppm. It inhibited 10 fungi at 400 ppm and 13 other fungal species at 500 ppm. This is the clove image up from where the oil was extracted. So the physical factors, effect of physical factors were studied on antifungal activity of oil. So temperature treatment up to 100 degrees centigrade was given. It showed no adverse effect on the toxicity of the oil. Even autoclaving was done. It again showed no effect on activity of oil. Oil was stored up to 120 days. It showed no effect on activity of oil. Activity means here antifungal activity against the dominant fungi, Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger. It couldn't show any adverse effect. Then experiment done through increased inocula. We observed there was no effect of 5 fungal disc of 5 mm and 1 fungal disc of 11 mm on the antifungal activity of the plant. That means it retained the activity on increased inocula. So the eye was characterized through its physicochemical properties. It shows a specific gravity of 0.9559, showed specific restriction plus 10. Refractive index was found to be 1.540, having acid value 3.45, having a saponification number 153.49, ester number is 150.04. This phenolic content was found to be nil. This was solubility, so this was completely miscible with petroleum ether, acetone, and 90% ethanol in 1:1 ratio, but this was found insoluble in water. In due course, GCMS, in order to find out what is the major compound present, GCMS analysis was of the essential oil of Syzygium aromaticum was done. The major compound was found to be usinol. It shows 55.60%. Usinol acetate was 20.54%. For this is followed by caryophyllene 14.84% and alpha humulene 2.75%. So from this analysis, GCMS analysis, the major compound is usinol, that is 55.60%. This is the alternate synthetic fumigant. This is the synthetic fumigant and right hand side, that is sulfas, aluminum phosphide, and ethylene dibromide. Both two are present. Aluminum phosphide, and this is our IL portion, and so definitely these two fumigants, synthetic fumigant, that is aluminum phosphides. That means these two both have harmful effects. Aluminum phosphide can affect you if you breathe in. Contact, if you doing in contact, the skin and eyes. Contact irritates the skin and eyes, nose, throat, and lungs, causing coughing, wheezing, and or shortness of breath. Repeated exposure may damage the lungs, kidney, and liver. Repeated exposure may damage the lungs, kidney, and liver. Aluminum phosphide even reacts with water, moisture, and releases highly toxic and flammable phosgene gas. It's very important. It's very toxic. It's releases. It's very reacts with water. So it's very important. Even it reacts with moisture, and it releases highly toxic and flammable phosgene gas. Likely, ethylene dibromide is also a very toxic. It's a liquid at ambient temperature, normal temperature. This again causes irritation to skin, eye, mucous membrane, and upon breathing of the lungs, liver, and kidney. These effects can result from any routes of exposure. The synthetic systematic effects of ethylene dibromide are in part due to metabolic conversions to the cell toxicant 2-bromoacetaldehyde. Person with pre-existing skin disorders or eye problems or impaired liver, kidney, or respiratory tract infection may be more susceptible to its effects. So, due to these lines, it's become very clear that these two synthetic fumigants are too toxic for human health. That's why food commodity must be stored with a botanical plant product through a plant essential oil, which is derived from a plant which is edible since crore years. Nobody knows how much time this is in use in India. Clove oil in India, clove Syzygium aromaticum is in use since crore years of time, and people are using without having any side effect. So that's why its oil is active. In vitro study demonstrated that it is highly active. This is active at 400 ppm. So that's why for more volume, here two concentration were made, that is 1000 ppm and 1500 ppm. Fumigants were compared, fumigants taken with aluminum phosphide and ethylene dibromide, and the oil taken is clove Syzygium aromaticum oil. This was compared 1000 ppm and 1500 ppm separately. This was stored for 3 months. After 3 months of storage, mycoflora, when studied, the oil treated sample showed no fungal species. Imagine, after 3 months of storage, the oil treated sample, Syzygium aromaticum oil treated sample showed no fungus. That means it did complete protection of Poison sativum food commodity. Ammonium phosphide treated sample shows through agar plate technique 6 and 4 fungal species respectively. Through blotter technique, it shows 6 and 3 fungal species respectively. That means 1000 ppm, it shows 6, and 1500 ppm, it shows 3 fungal species. So here is a lot of difference. IL is going to do complete protection. IL had got no adverse effects. So see its value. Ethylene dibromide treated sample shows at 1000 ppm through agar plate technique, it is 8 fungal species. And at 1500 ppm, it is 7 fungal species. Through blotter technique, it showed 8 fungal species, and through at 1500 ppm, it is 7 fungal species. Control set where no treatment was given, it showed 8 fungal species. So major study were done, the mycological analysis, fungal analysis were done through agar plate and blotter method of study. This is the 3-month data. So now next, after these commodity were stored in up to 6 months. In the container use is same, that is tin container. Again concentration is same, but the storage period different. It is 6 months of period of time. These were stored at 1000 ppm or 1500 ppm. So the storage period, it shows 6 months. Microforal analysis were done again after 6 months of storage. It showed no fungus species. It showed there was a complete protection. Ammonium phosphide treated sample shows through agar plate technique, it showed, imagine 1000 ppm, it showed 13 fungal species. But at 1500 ppm, it shows 12 fungal species. In blotted 7 again at 1500 ppm 5. Ethylene dibromide treated sample shows. That means here after 6 months of storage, this was found completely ineffective. Control set showed here 13 fungal species, and the technique adapted was same agar plate and water technique. So after its successful results, after its successful protection, IL Silicium aromaticum IL successful protection of food commodity, poison sativum food commodity, food seed protection, the phytotoxic effects were studied. So phytotoxic is studied after 3 and 6 months of storage in 10 containers were studied. We observed no effect on protein content. There was no effect on seed germination. There was no effect on seedling growth of Pisum sativum plant. There was no effect on even we say plant growth, even foliage morphology, even these couldn't self, even general health or morphology of plant. General health of plant was so much good, it could not show any adverse effect. So getting the good result, the experiment were also done in other container, that is in gunny bags, which is in practice in India. Generally, this is stored in thin containers. Generally, it is stored in gunny bags at large scale. In two types of container used here. So again, container only change, that is gunny bag. Glow vial were taken, that is Silicium aromaticum vial, and this is the aluminum phosphide, and synthetic fumigant used is other one is ethylene dibromide. Container is again is gunny bags, and concentration made is 1000 ppm and 1500 ppm. So this was stored for 3 months. After 3 months of storage, oil treated sample showed no fungus. That means it showed complete protection. Oil treated sample showed complete protection. It showed no fungal species. That means oil is again going to safely store P commodity. Oil is going to safely store the P commodity. In even container has been changed. This is a gunny bags. How it is protecting? The reason is that this oil have fungus killing power. This is fungicidal. Static is also, but at higher concentration it is cidal. So completely checking the growth of fungus. So if it is completely checking the growth of fungus, then there was no fungal species of even after 3 months of storage. Aluminum phosphide treated sample sold through agar plate technique at 1000 ppm, it is 7. And 1500 ppm less, that is 4 fungal species. Blotter through blotter technique, it's sold at 1000 ppm, 8 fungal species, and 1500 ppm, it is 6 fungal species. Ethylene dibromide treated sample showed even comparatively less protection than aluminum phosphide. It is through agar plate technique, it is 8 only, and at 1000 ppm, and at 1500 ppm it showed only 7 species. But through blotter technique, both at 1000 ppm and 1500 ppm species were same, that is 8, 8 and 8. But in the control set, what is there? It showed 13 fungal species. So control set having nothing added, so showing no protection. But here comparatively, after this much time, of 3 month time of storage, aluminum phosphide treated sample is doing somewhat some protection, but not complete protection. Ethylene dibromide is still not doing anything after even 3 month storage. So that's why experiment were done for 6 months again by storing it in gunny bags. The concentration is same, kept 1000 ppm and 1500 ppm separately. Mycological analysis were done. Here again, Syzygium aromaticum oil, it is highly potent, highly active oil. This completely this did complete protection with no fungus species. This does complete protection. So aluminum phosphide treated sample again shows at through agar plate technique 10 fungal species at 1000 ppm, 7 fungal species at 1500 ppm. Through blotter technique, when used for mycological analysis, fungal analysis, it showed 8 fungal species at 1000 ppm, 7 fungal species at 1500 ppm. Ethylene dibromide treated sample shows through agar plate technique, that is 10 that at 1000 ppm and again 10 at 15,000 ppm. This is found ineffective. And through blotted it is again 10 and again 10, but control set shows 13 fungal species. So this is the technique through agar plate and blotted technique. So here again I strongly say that my oil, that is oil obtained, essential oil obtained from Syzygium aromaticum, is too much potent. That should be applied for storage, in storage, during storage of any food grain, especially the data here in Python typum, it is okay that in Python typum seed should be stored by treating this oil, and this will free from fungi. So after storing it in 3 and 6 months in gunny bags, again it was observed that this showed no effect on seed protein content. Oil was having no effect on seed protein content. Oil was having no effect on percent seed germination. After 6 months of storage, oil was having no adverse effect on seedling growth, having no effect on foliage, having no effect on general health of plant. So now we can conclude through this experiment. The essential oil of clove, Syzygium aromaticum, can be exploited for preservation of pea seeds during storage due to its strong idle nature. This have very low MIC. In previous slide, I told the MIC is only 400 ppm. This have broad range of activity. This have capacity to withstand heavy inoculum density. That means it can kill heavy inoculums. are fungi. Persistence of activity at high temperature up to 100 degree, its quality is not going to be deteriorated. This even retain its activity up to long storage period. Up to 6-month period, it is effective. After 6 months of storage through this essential oil, clove oil, it doesn't affect seed protein content. This doesn't affect even seedling growth. This doesn't affect any general health and morphology. So definitely, this have a very, very positive role. And so I can soundly say that it can be recommended for the preservation of food grains. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any question, any query, it can be asked.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Dr. Narendra Kumar, and it was really informative. So, yeah, do we have any questions for Dr. Narendra Kumar? If there are any questions, yeah, you're welcome to ask. So, I guess there are no questions. So, yeah, thank you for your presentation. It was
Okay.
really informative.
Thank you, ma'am, very much, ma'am, for giving me a chance to present my work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So, yeah. So, with this session, we complete today's session, and for tomorrow, yeah, at the same time by 11 a.m. at Eastern Daylight Time, yeah, we'll meet you again tomorrow. So if there are any queries you would like to ask me, yeah, you can if you're not able to ask, you can also message me here so that I'll be able to assist you. And this will be the end of today's session. Thank you one and all for your patience and your presentations and everything. I hope today was informative to you, and I also hope tomorrow we'll catch up tomorrow again. Thank you, Dr. Nivedita Sharma. Thank you, Dr. Ameya. It was really nice having you all today. And yeah, the sessions were really quite interesting and informative to get to know many more things which I didn't know till now. Yeah. So yeah, so this will be the end of the session today. So if you're having any queries, you can just put up a message over here. So we'll be able to assist you, or yeah, we'll also, if you're having any queries, you can also send us an email and yeah, I'll help you out with that. Thank you. Thank you all for your time and your patience. Have a great night. And I'm sorry if it's night, yeah, for India, I think it's really late night. So yeah, good night to you all.
Close case. Yes.
Yeah, you can actually just click on the screen so it'll just close off. Yeah. Thank you all for your time. Have a great day ahead.
in US.